Hello, everybody, and welcome into Tuesday Night Thunder. It's Season 4 Championship night here at Talladega Superspeedway. Joining me in the booth, as always, all season, co-host Dawson Wise. Dawson, big night, a lot of money, final race of the season. You ready to go for tonight?
Oh, man, huge night. I love it. What a season it's been, and fitting we get to conclude it with the biggest race of the year.
Indeed. Well, drivers getting ready to go green, so let's get right into tonight's starting grid for RMR eSports and making his first start of the season. How about Alex Hill here in the championship race? Won't be fighting for the championship, of course, but we'll see what he can do here tonight. Cody Nagels will roll off from the second spot. That front row is two teammates. Jeff Merck back in third, Matt Lee fourth. Malik Ray, one of the Coke Series drivers, in fifth, with Trevor Oswald for KSR in sixth. Mark Vondell, Michael Triscaro make up row number 4. Matthew Baker in ninth, and Landon Velicky rounding out your top 10.
Row 6, Dylan Basson in the 26. Kenny Reel in the 11 making a start tonight. He'll start 12th. Row 7, PGR's J.R. Miller alongside his teammate Mike Davenport. Row 8, Jason Maines racing for some money tonight. And in the number 1, he'll roll 15th. Ethan Eckert in 16th. Row 9 is where we'll find Jared Haynes and our 4th championship contender Garrett Maines is back in 18th. Rounding out the top 20, Andrew Navarro in the 44 and Dylan Jones in the 25.
Daniel Eberhardt, Connor Cunningham in row 11. Chris Walker, Christopher McCullough in row 12. Brock Westerman 25th, Ken McCullough Jr. 26th, Sean Corbett 27th, and Jimmy Emos in 28th. Race info tonight, championship race, 100 laps, 45% fuel, only 3 sets of tires, no fast repair, no stage brake, and fixed setups. All right, here we go for the final time this season. We have got a lot to break down for you, but before we do, let's bring the engines to life one more time. Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Talladega.
Lap 1 complete. The field working its way back down towards turn number 1, and it is a 1-2-3 running right now for RMR eSports. Cody Nagels, Alex Hill, welcome to RMR for the first time this season, and Matt Lee in the 0-4 go 1-2-3 as the field reaches the Alabama Gang super stretch. And again, tonight, these guys fighting for a win, but a little bit more on the line for a few drivers. The championship 4 we decided tonight. Matthew Baker in the 5, Garrett Maines in the 1, Jeff Merck in the 60, and Michael Triscaro in the 34. 3 quasi-teammates, if you will, and then Garrett Maines in the 1, battling for that. Some more money on the line as well. We'll get to that in a little bit, but your 4 championship drivers, they come off turn 4. They run in the 5th, 6th, 12th, and 15th positions right now. Top of those drivers, $400 richer tonight, and the honor of being called Tuesday Night Thunder champion. Lap 2 complete. Nagels continues to lead the way alongside his teammate Matt Lee. Trevor Oswald bringing up second in the outside row, but now make him third. Nagels back up across the top side, but bottom side very disorganized. It's Hill, Merck, then Malik Ray, and then a couple cars back from them. I believe this is a brand new look aboard the 62 of Landon Velicky tonight. The one-stop OSM colors tonight, red and white aboard that car, and that's going to take some getting used to for me. Nagels top to bottom, back across his teammate, and I'll tell you, these 3 have been on an absolute tear since they got back together as a trio, and I'll tell you, it seems to me like they're starting to get prepped for the upcoming PGR SummerSlam 499.
You better believe they are. Before we get any further, though, make sure you turn your attention to that scoring tower on the left, and you might notice the letters next to some of these drivers' names, and Dawson already mentioned quite a few of them, but the C's, those are your drivers fighting to be crowned a Season 4 Tuesday Night Thunder champion here tonight. That does consist of Jeff Merck, who snuck his way in last week, Michael Triscaro, Matthew Baker, and then, of course, Garrett Maines. No big surprise there, especially for those top 2, making it in this season. But you notice there is some P's next to 4 more drivers' names besides your championship drivers, and those are the guys that made it to the round of 8 but did not advance to the round of 4, and they are still fighting for some money here tonight. And we said last week, Dawson, the format was really interesting, and here's how it works. The top 4 battle in head-to-head to take home the most prize money here tonight. First place, or I guess I should say whoever finishes the highest out of those 4, of course, going to be crowned the champion and the most money at $400. Second goes $350, third $350, and then fourth will get $300. So even if you're, say, the guy who finishes worst of those top 4, or rather whoever finishes last out of all those drivers that have a C next to their name, they're still going to take home at least $300. But then all the drivers that have a P next to their name, they're fighting for the 5th through 8th pot, which is $225 to 5th, $200 to 6th, $150 to 7th, and $150 to 8th. So again, even if you're the worst finishing driver with the P of any of the other drivers with the P next to their name, you will still take home at least $150. So definitely an interesting format, but pretty exciting. And even though we're keeping an eye on that secondary pool, we're going to be keeping an eye on who we're going to crown a champion. Still 2x2 off of turn 4. Nagels and Matt Lee, 2 teammates side by side, and Alex Hill making a return in the field here tonight. How crucial is he going to play in the role of trying to bring Nightmare Esports back to victory lane, even though they don't have a driver in the championship?
Well, he'll play a massive role, and again, I was kind of getting to it before we got talking about the championship, and that's, in the fact that these teams are also feeling out this event we got coming up in a few weeks, and you're going to hear us hammer it home over the next couple of weeks. The SummerSlam 499 is this combo right here, as Xfinity cars at Talladega will take to the track, and I'll tell you, those 3, I've heard from them basically all week that that's the goal of these kinds of races, is to get ready, get crisp, get sharp again in these cars before that event comes up, because that event is massive. So even though, Michael Triscaro, Jeff Merck, and Matthew Baker, Garrett Maines, and even Andrew Navarro, Brock Westmoreland, Jason Maines are racing for, a little bit more tonight in terms of the championship. Pretty much all these guys, at least the ones that are so far, have entered that race coming up at the end of July. They're working for something as well. They're trying to get their skills up, because that race is going to have a lot of stakes, a lot of eyeballs, and a big chance at a huge crown jewel victory. So a lot of guys working it more than that, and none more so than Nightmare Esports, and they are looking very good so far.
Boy, I'm excited for that one. We got a lot for it. In fact, we're also, at least looking like for now, I guess can't confirm it, but looking like we are going to have broadcaster cams for the first time. So you get to see all of our faces, and we might have a guest broadcaster joining us. Not going to announce the name yet, just in case, but looking forward to all that. That's going to transpire for that event. But as for right now, looking like a lot of very civilized 2x2 action on the track. Cody Nagel still on the top of the racetrack. Matt Lee on the bottom. Navarro further back. Looked up the racetrack a little bit, but doesn't look like there's anything to be found now. He did start a little bit further back than we're used to seeing. I think he did miss qualifying, so he's got his work cut out for him. But I mean, 100 laps, no stage break, Dawson. I think at this point, you got to think about settling in here. And honestly, I don't think you're too worried about where you're running right now, because 45% fuel, you're looking at probably about 20 laps. I mean, we're going to see potentially a handful of green flag stops in this race.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I see too, and let me know if you feel the same way, but it sure feels like to me there's a lot of room being given right now. You can really tell there's a stark difference between this race and even, the 75 lap races that we saw in the round of 8. You can see just a visible difference of, okay, we're going to lay off, a little bit more. We're going to give that little bit extra space, at least for now. Obviously later that will change, but look up at the scoreboard, look over at the scoring tower, and there's 90 laps to go. You're obviously not going to be pushing as hard as you can. I mean, look at, as they pass by the cameras, look at the gaps between the 89 and the 34 and the 34 and the 55, even the 77 and the 60 on the bottom. Big gaps, and that means these guys are just calm right now, minding P's and Q's, just hanging out, because this is a really long race. It's a grueling race to go 100 laps, especially, with all that's on the line. So I think you're seeing a lot of give and take right now, and so far, clean and green. This is about as calm as it'll get tonight.
Yeah, I think it's only fitting, right? To be crowned a champion, you got to be able to do the hard stuff the right way. And that would be making those green flag pit stops, executing on and off the pits, and trying to stick with this lead group the entire way through this race. And speaking of the lead group, we're starting to get a couple different ones forming up here. Looks like, I believe that's Dylan Jones, who is leading what is now turned into, I don't know if I want to call it a full-on second pack just yet. They are leaving a little bit more slack than everybody else between the cars in front, as he rolls about half a second behind Brock Westmoreland. And in that group is Jason Maines, Brock Westermelin in the group just in front. Those two not quite nose to tail, but close enough. And that is part of the battle for that secondary pool for the drivers that currently are 4th through 8th in points. Meanwhile, up front, no change for the lead. But we do have a little bit of movement going on further back between those championship drivers right now. Michael Triscaro leads the battle. If this race ended right now, he would be your champion. And then Jeff Merck second, Matthew Baker in third, and currently sitting in that last spot in the championship battle is Garrett Maines as he rolls back in 12th. And again, no points tonight, no bonus points. Stage break, again, not going to be one, so no bonus points to get there. It is just about where you finish at the end of this race. You could be running dead last all the way to the last lap, but if you finish ahead of all those other drivers with the C, you're going to win yourself a lot of money here tonight. 11 laps complete as they cross the stripe.
Yeah, and it's more than that. It's also the honor of being called champion. Look, I've been in this position before, and I understand that the money is, not equal. There's a little bit more bonus there, but I've been in this position before when you're one of the last 4 guys standing. Yeah, you could just lay by and get the 350 and move on and call it a night, but there's just that little added bonus, that little added moral victory of being called a champion. It's a reward for your work. I've been in that spot before. It is high stress, but it is high reward as well if you can get the job done. So a lot on the shoulders of those 4 guys tonight as they are up here duking with the leaders right now pretty much. All of our championship 4, I believe, are 5th, 6th, 9th, and 12th right now on the racetrack. They're all in close proximity. All those 4 cars, they can see each other right now, and I'll tell you, there's nothing more nerve-wracking than looking around this lead pack, the racing as it is right now, and seeing those other 3 guys around you, knowing that maybe 1, 2, 3 moves for a green flag pit stop could make or break your race.
Well, you know what else can make or break your race is friends and guys that you work with at the end of this thing. And I want to take us back to, I believe it was actually the last race, so not last week, but the week before in PGR. If you look back to 2 of the drivers who are running just about side by side, Malik Ray and Michael Triscaro. Flashback to the last lap of that event. Malik Ray pushing Michael Triscaro, had him squared up, not doing anything wrong, but just unfortunately got tangled up. And Michael Triscaro got the bad end of the stick, got turned off the front bumper of Malik, and Malik went on to win that race. And neither driver, I don't think, was really upset with each other. I mean, we watched it, and we saw that it was nothing, of course, malicious, nothing intentional, just hard racing. Malik was trying to push Triscaro to the win, but with things not working out there and Malik not running for a championship tonight, does he maybe try to work together with Triscaro at the end if they're in the right position? What do you think?
I've been in that position too. Look, it happens to all of us, right? Even the best of us. Malik Ray is a Coke Series winner from this season back at Atlanta, and look, he's been around a super speedway a time or two. He knows what he's doing. Obviously, nothing done really wrong in that scenario, but when it happens to you as a driver, when you have that happen, it's bad luck, but you kind of feel for the guy. You have that stick in the back of your mind. Okay, next time I have a chance, I'm going to help that guy out. I'm going to give him a little bit of a helping hand, just to kind of make up for it, if you will. So I wouldn't be surprised, but knowing the racer's mentality that Malik Ray has, it's going to be so hard for him to lay back and not go to win the race. I don't know. It's a dilemma for sure, but if the situation presents itself, absolutely, Malik would be more than willing to help the 34.
Well, let's check out some of our onboard cameras here for the night. 3 of your 4 championship drivers are carrying one. We'll start with the 34, the prime colors, the 34 Camaro, actually, of Michael Triscaro, one of the NBG teammates. New addition this season for Tuesday Night Thunder to that team, and boy, it has paid off in a big way. They've got 3 of their drivers in this championship 4, but right now he's rolling on the outside, sits back in that 4th spot, and he is getting a good push from Mike Davenport, one of his drivers for PGR eSports. So I'm sure him and Davenport will continue to work together good tonight. That comes as a result of Cody Nagels dropping to the bottom of the racetrack. Go a little bit further back in this group, we find Jeff Merck sitting back in that 8th position. He's ready to go here tonight. And well, you talk about momentum. I think he's got it in the sense of it wasn't looking like he was going to make his way in last week, Dawson, especially after that late wreck that he got involved in. But I say last week, I should say the week before, but nonetheless, the point being that he found a way to get in here, was able to get the car repaired just enough to squeak in, and by doing so, he's got himself in great position here tonight and going to be taking home at least $300. So good in that spot. And then his teammate, Matthew Baker, who runs back in the 10th position. Boy, he looks like he has his hands a little bit more full than he'd like right now, as he's going to see his teammate Jeff Merck go 3 wide. We'll see what he thinks of this. Does the 5 go up? Yes, he does. So NBG looking to dice things up a little bit here early, as this is going to be our first 3 wide action of the night.
Yeah, between championship contenders, no less. And look at this. Garrett Maines goes with him as well. It's a championship draft up on the outside of the racetrack. Merck pushed by Baker, and Garrett Maines moved the 60 to the lead at the line. He'll lead his first lap of the night. Cody Nagels trying his best to keep him up there, but I think the momentum's going to be too much for the 6 in the middle line, and that's because, oh, wow, but a bit of a curveball here. Garrett Maines drops out of line. As soon as he saw that line start to check up, he pulled the trigger, moved back down behind Triscaro, and look at how much that stalled the 60 and the 5. They are stuck and up in no man's land now. Garrett Maines, he's not making friends with the NBG boys early, but I'm not surprised considering the championship stakes on the line.
Yeah, and I think that if there was anybody in the field that could get the job done without friends, it's Garrett Maines. We see it time and time again. He could be a one-man show if he needs to be. He's got all the talent in the world to do so. Almost trouble out back. Looked like Daniel Eberhardt in the 60 of Merck. Maybe got a little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact there that shot Merck out of line briefly, but was able to hold on to it as they remain 2-by-2 up front. But by making that move, look where it's put Garrett now. Second on the outside, he is pushing the 34 of Michael Triscaro. I don't think we'll see another move out of that one car, at least not for a while. I think he's pretty content to roll there. But I'll tell you what, Dawson, for as cool as the track temp is, these guys certainly look like they're dicing around a little bit here as they work down the Alabama gang backstretch. And it's a little early to be having this much trouble with the handling of these cars.
Yeah, it's a combination. The car is naturally not that easy to drive, as easy as it may look coming from these guys. When you're, watching these guys dice it up and make 3 wide moves like that is, well, I'm going to interrupt my own thought because we got pit stops, and this is half the field coming to pit road here on lap 17.
A lot of pit stops. Can they all get in clean? Oh, maybe some contact out back, but it looks like they all do. I think that was Ozrenoff and Matt Lee who got a little bit too close for comfort, but yep, sure enough, looks like everybody is going to sneak into the pits without any issues. So the first stop gets in clean now. Dawson, I will say that this was a little earlier than I initially said, but I was thinking 55% fuel, which would have been a little bit more than 20 laps. But yeah, 50% would have been right about 20. So this makes sense on the number, and I wonder if maybe that's part of the reason we saw guys taking it easy early. I'm telling you, this one extra lap that we're seeing Garrett and everybody else make, this is a big deal. And if anybody can stretch it to 20, they're going to have a great shot at maybe making this thing on one less stop than the rest of the field. But we'll have to see how that pans out. Christopher McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr. both with trouble as they are going to leave later than everybody else. Here comes the second group.
Oh, Garrett. Oh, man, he's really fast at the commit line. Wait to see on that. We might want to hold this on Garrett Maines because he was awfully quick at the commitment line. Looked like everybody behind him got in okay, and he was awfully close, but do want to make sure because that's a championship contender. He might have incurred a speeding penalty. Let's see here as he leaves pit road.
Oh boy, he was getting in aggressive, and that's what you got to do, especially
he got away without one.
Oh, man, that's a big break, and we'll see if he takes it a little bit easier on the next stop. Ooh, Daniel Eberhardt and Andrew Navarro, I thought those two would have been coasted, but they made a little bit of bumper-to-bumper contact there, but looks like everybody's going to work out of this first pit stop nice and clean. Nicely done, fellas, as we'll wait to see this second group and how they all merge. Here comes Cody Nagels, Matt Lee rolling across the checkered flag, or I guess I should say not the checkered flag, but the start-finish line, and looks like Nagels is going to be able to get by this entire group. Now, with how much momentum becomes the question. How many cars can they break off here? We'll have to find out as they work their way down the backstretch.
I think it was a good strategy, and I know you said the extra lap was going to help. It's still going to be a 5-stop race if it goes green, so I don't think it mattered that much. You're either going 17 at a time or 18 at a time. Not going to be a huge deal when it comes down to it. And look, some of the best in the business coming to pit road on that first lap in terms of green flag pit stops. I mean, the Nightmare cars, Trevor Ozrenoff, Kenny Reel, Mike Davenport, and Michael Triscaro have had their fair share of green flag pit stops. But look at what that extra lap did for the Garrett Maines group. It got them out in front, and actually by a bit of a margin here to where these 4 cars up front, Nagels on back, have some work to do to chip away, get back to the front, and try to catch up to Garrett Maines. So the early pit stop may have gotten them away from the field, but did it gain them any time? The answer to that is no.
They are going to go by the 67 of Jimmy Emos. That will be the first lap or second lap that he loses here tonight, but he should have a spot to tuck in line, and right now he is the only car not on the lead lap, so could very well be fighting to get that lucky dog spot if we were to see a caution. And now that we're back to 2x2, again, still think it's too early to do anything too crazy, but I do think that this is time to get your team in position. That's exactly what Matthew Baker was trying to do right there, but Malik Ray is going to be able to get just enough of a jump on him to throw a block, and now the 7 will march his way to the front from the outside. He jumps down low, gets in front of Garrett Maines, and he will take the lead as they cross the line. This time, 21 laps complete. But on the outside, you got two teammates linked up. Michael Triscaro not too far behind either. So I think NBG's still in a really good spot, Dawson. And I'll tell you what gives them such a big advantage tonight versus putting Garrett Maines at such a disadvantage is that the NBG boys, they're not going to fight each other for this championship to a degree. Now, granted, they're going to work together to try to stay in front of this one car and maximize profit, but I still think they'll get a little racy for that championship title at the end. But, I mean, if you're Garrett Maines, I know it's early, but you got to be trying to make a plan now at what you're going to do at the end of this race if you've got all three of those guys behind you.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm willing to bet he made a plan coming in, and you kind of saw that about a lap ago when Malik Ray and the NBG cars jumped to his outside. Garrett Maines about 5 weeks ago, even probably last race out 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I think would have thrown that block. Now he gets back to the front anyway, but in this situation, when those four cars got up to his outside, he could have very easily turned right across Malik Ray, blocked that run, but he stayed on the bottom. It's a different mindset out of Garrett Maines tonight, a little bit more, dare I say, conservative out of the driver of the one. He's obviously not being conservative right now, but he's making the smart moves right now. He's not throwing blocks he doesn't need to. He's not putting himself in a bad spot. And that's objective number one in winning a championship, especially when the odds are stacked against you like they are tonight. When you're up against three teammates, you got to make the smart moves. Garrett Maines is doing it so far. Move the one car back to the point.
Yeah, remember, when he makes these smart moves early and doesn't do anything risky, it kind of gives you that opportunity later without having to worry about maybe somebody already being frustrated with the move you made earlier and maybe not cutting you that break. Now, if Garrett was throwing a bunch of blocks and stuff right now, who knows? Maybe Baker says you're not throwing anything later, whereas if he stays, well, like you said, kind of conservative right now and then maybe throws something a little borderline later, maybe Baker cuts him that break. So it's all kind of the mind games, a chess match, if you will, at nearly 200 miles an hour here. And so far, Garrett Maines seems to be playing it the best of anyone in the field as he continues to lead the outside. But here we go. Going to look three wide again. Maybe. No, I think Merck's just cooling the nose off of that car as he'll duck back down the line behind his teammate into turn number 3. But as they stay 2 by 2, I do want to take a moment to look back at how some of these other guys are doing and really how that first pit stop kind of separated things. But before we do that, looking at our final driver cam here tonight, it's the 89 machine for KSR. Trevor Osranoff, who did advance, or rather made it into the playoffs, but unfortunately was not able to advance into the round of 8. Trevor Osranoff, nonetheless, they're looking to see if he can go out on top here tonight. I'm sure that'll be another driver that we see in the SummerSlam in a couple weeks, so he's trying to get prepped and ready for that. And so far, he's got a pretty good run going here tonight as he continues to roll inside the top 15. Well, looking at this lead pack, Dawson, it goes all the way back to, looks like Dylan Basson, and then after that, Dylan Basson. After that, though, Jared Haynes, 24th. I mean, he's on an island all by himself. It initially looked like he got out with the field pretty good, but guess that may have not been the case. Sean Corbett appears to be by himself, and then Christopher McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr. both tandeming together, but all four of those cars, they're going to need a caution as Jimmy Emos is currently a lap down. So overall, though, not too bad for that first round of pit stops. Normally we talk about thinning the herd. That's not the case. We still got a strong pack, about 20-plus cars deep.
Yeah, but as those right side tires start to wear, you saw most of these guys take lefts on that first pit stop. As you see these right side tires start to wear, as the race goes longer, your focus drops a little bit, your reaction time drops a little bit, just in the spirit of a long race. As the race goes on, you start to wear down, get a little bit, tired, a little bit mentally exhausted, and you're more prone to make mistakes. So this field is going to be thinned. The more pit stops you have, the more opportunities for that. And that is disadvantage Garrett Maines, in my opinion, because it allows the 5, the 60, and the 34 to control so much more of this race. The less cars in the lead pack, the more impact 3 cars has on this group as a whole. Garrett's hoping that everybody has flawless pit stops tonight because it means that those 3 have as little control as possible when they're trying to make their moves, when they're trying to get around Garrett for the championship later on, if that's the case. Garrett's hoping this field stays pretty big. I know from experience as a driver, the more green flag pit stops happen, the more you kind of lose focus, you get distracted, you get more mentally exhausted, the more mistakes happen.
Indeed. And Malik thought maybe got shuffled off there, but either way, he's going to fall a couple positions here, seeing if anybody's going to let him in line. Doesn't look like it, so he'll have to fall back towards the back of this pack. And that'll allow Garrett Maines to jump right back down to the inside of the racetrack. And Matthew Baker all but clear off the nose of his teammate, Jeff Merck. And boy, that was a little bit dicey, Dawson. I know that these guys have great chemistry. They've worked together all season, but there's no fast repairs, and when you know that it's only going to take one bad push to potentially end your night, I still think some of these guys, especially up front, need to think about being a little bit more conservative. But Baker wants that lead, and he's going to take it. What a move from the NBG boys.
Oh, I mean, there's a couple teams in here right now that are at the top of their game. It seems like everybody is. NBG has run a very good race. Nightmare Esports has run a very good race. So too has Garrett Maines, and so too is Andrew Navarro. He's in that 5 through 8 pot tonight. He's running a very good race so far as well. Third on the inside behind Garrett Maines. I believe another guy that is running with at least minimal help in the field tonight. So maybe those two kind of have some mutual gain here. Oh, hey, I'll push you to this. It means you win the championship, I win the 5 through 8. We both benefit. Maybe that's something they're thinking about as well. I've noticed over the last couple laps, though, I think Garrett Maines is starting to push it a little bit. Maybe not a ton yet. He's still being smart, but the pushing's getting a little bit harder. It's getting a little bit more dicey because we're getting close to that, about a third of the way through the race. That second pit stop's going to determine a lot in the finish of this one.
I think he is, and I think a lot of the guys around him are too. But, I mean, it's similar to what we would see in, the real-life NASCAR speed weeks when you hear the guys talk about they don't want to get aggressive early on in the race, or say, let's just use practice as an example, or the duels where you hear them talking about they may not want to get aggressive when there's not much on the line, but they want to know what their car can do, what it can't do, who they can push, who they can't push. And it's the same kind of mindset, if you will, here tonight. Right now, there's nothing to race for specifically, but you want to know what you can do, what you can't do, who you can push. I mean, we've seen a couple instances this season where guys have been, kind of doing the same thing they've done since we started in these cars here, and once in a while something doesn't work, and it's just those little minute changes and things that they do that they try to learn from and figure out, okay, I can't do that next time. Maybe I can't push a guy here after this lap, and you're just trying to figure out all those things in such a short amount of time, and you throw some green flag pit stops into the mix, and you certainly got to try to learn those things while the pack's big, because as you said it, Dawson, the more race goes on and more people start to mentally wear down, that's when you start to make mistakes, and that's when the pack starts to become thinner.
And it started to thin out a little bit more. You see guys moving down to the bottom. We're down to about 7 cars up on the outside line back to Jason Maines. 7 cars deep on that top line, and he's starting to make his way forward just a little bit in that one machine up on the outside behind Trevor Osmeroth. So he's starting to come forward. Brock Westmoreland's starting to come forward to meet Andrew Navarro for that 5 through 8 in our championship 4. Currently run 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 7th. So all 7 of our drivers in this field tonight that are going for the championship pots, if you will, are all migrating their way to the front. And it's perfect timing because the green flag pit stops are coming up. The second stop of the night is coming up, and man, I contradict myself because I said, you know what, we're calm right now. I'm pretty calm, but I'll tell you, I'm on the edge of my seat. I have been since the beginning, and you pointed it out. I thought you kind of hit the nail on the head. These guys are getting a little bit more aggressive, and that one minor wrong move and something goes completely wrong, and with no fast repair, that could wreak some havoc on our championship fight tonight. So I contradicted myself. These guys are calm. I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
Yeah, certainly am too. And 30 laps complete. Looking at that next pit stop, probably somewhere, if I had to guess, I'd say maybe around lap 34 to 36. Maybe somewhere in that range. So we still got another handful of laps or so. And the 2x2 action can only go for so long because eventually these guys got a single file down to the bottom. Now, further back, they've all done so. And honestly, I don't think saving fuel is a bad strategy right now, especially when you see guys like Daniel Eberhardt and company doing so. But a couple people would rather not have to worry about it right now. Dylan Basson, by the way, still with a good run going here tonight as he continues to run in the lead pack. Good to see him back out on track. Landon Veliky, Chris Walker, a couple drivers that have been relatively new to the season. In fact, I thought we saw Landon actually get a cash spot not too long ago. I don't remember if it was in Tuesday Night Thunder or PGR, but point is, it's been good to see Landon and how quick he's grown. Some of the guys he's been working with doing a phenomenal job, to say the least. Then you go up further in the field, you look at a guy like Jason Maines, as long as he's been around in sim racing, especially money racing, and be good to see if he could cash spot, maybe take the lead prize in that secondary pool here tonight. But as the championship runs, notice that they are all running pretty much at the front right now. Matthew Baker leads that championship battle. Garrett Maines second in the battle. Jeff Merck third. And then Michael Triscaro currently sitting 4th in the battle. Now, that's not necessarily exactly where they're running on the track, but point is, things up front, they're staying tight, and now they're starting to single file out as Jeff Merck and Michael Triscaro, two of the NBG boys, the only two for a while that are on the outside. Osmeroth and Maines there as well, but they are so far back that these guys are going to keep falling here as they're trying to find a spot in line. Pit stops are imminent here in the next few laps.
Yeah, it's about 2 laps here until we would expect that group led by Triscaro and the Nightmare team to come to pit road with Osmanoff, Kenny Reel, and a couple of other cars as well. Mike Davenport would be in that group as well that came on lap number 17. So we'd expect them on lap 34 if the strategy stays the same. The Garrett Maines, NBG, and company group would come on lap 36 if they stay to their strategy. Obviously, expect a little bit of give or take one way or the other for both groups because of where they've been running. I think that Nightmare group pit earlier because they led majority of that first stage of the race, whereas now it's been Garrett Maines, Matthew Baker, Jeff Merck out front of the field. So, you know, they have a little bit less fuel. Maybe they're going to pit early. The Nightmare cars are going to go a little bit longer. The give and take, the pull of being in line versus being out front, it's about to show itself right here. We're 1 lap short of a second green flag pit stop. This race is flying by.
Here we go. Does anybody dip down below the double yellow? No, they do not. Maybe a couple left side tires, but nobody actually commits. Now, this is interesting, too, because I was looking ahead out the front windshield of Matthew Baker's car. In fact, we all were there for just a moment, and you see that group before, all things considered, not too far ahead, and this pack is running considerably faster, so you wonder if the guys that can stay out that extra lap, do they maybe get a pull off of this group? And I tell you what, that would make a huge difference in lap time. So we'll see if maybe they try to push it even a little bit farther to catch that draft. Boy, it is going to get really interesting. But I think this lap for sure is going to be the first round of pit stops. Who comes in, who doesn't? We still got a couple guys on this outside, so they're going to have to sort it out here. Watch for who jumps below the yellow here off of turn number 4.
Decision time for Matthew Baker. Do you stay out with your teammates? Do you pit and come to pit road now?
Wow, nobody
comes to pit road. Well, Jimmy Emos does further back, about 12 cars deep in the field. But other than that, wow. All right, nobody's sticking to their strategy tonight. We expected at least that first group. Nobody pits. Notably, Merck Triscaro, the cavalry has arrived. Jason Maines, Malik Ray, and the OSM machine of Landon Velicki. And all of a sudden, the NBG cars have some life. They've got some help on the middle line of the racetrack.
Yeah, and that still continues to make me wonder about the question of can they catch this front group. Sean Corbett sagging pretty far behind on that pack. If they can just pull any bit of a draft, that would really throw off these lap times. And if anybody has to pit here and then you have a couple guys to stay out, I just don't know how it's going to happen. But, man, I would think they would have to pit this time now, or at least one of the groups. But I think the pace has been a little bit slower. Let's see. Do they come down this time? No, they do not. So they'll stay out yet again. Now, remember, they went 18 laps. I think the longest group went 18 coming to 19. So this would be 36. And so they've got to be running just about on empty. I wouldn't say fumes just yet, but I would say if they're still out next lap, that's when you would start to think they're about running on fumes, excuse me. So Matthew Baker continues to lead. He's burning the most. Jeff Merck as well, but they're still 2x2 right now.
Well, that's because there's not as much give now. Oh, now there's some. Michael Triscaro dives in front of Ethan Eckert in the 12 as he dives out of the way, allows the 34 to jump in line. Now Merck, oh man, 3 wide, Eberhardt and Jones, and they do this a lot. I notice they do this all the time. Jones and Eberhardt, they bring a couple cars with them, and they go around, they stay out, and look at that. That's why. Here come a bunch of pit stops right here.
Well, you said, oh, trouble. The 60 of Merck is going to get turned around into the pits. Can everybody else dodge him? It looks like they do. Oh, man, that's going to put Jeff Merck in a horrible spot. He gets it, looped back around. He saves it. He's at the back of the pack. He might be okay here if he didn't get any penalties or an unsafe entry or anything else. We'll have to see here.
He got some damage
to the back. Oh, man, let's see if we can get a better view on it. Oh, oh, man, the back bumper is completely ripped off. I don't think he's going to be able to fix it right now, though. I think he's got to try to just go out with these guys to see if he can at least stick with them. Let's see what he does here. Yeah, he's going to try it in just long enough for them to throw the rear bumper back on, but by no means is that car going to be aerodynamic, and maybe if he got out in the middle portions of this pack, he'd be okay, but coming out at the back, that's a rough spot to be in, Dawson. That's a tough break for Jeff Merck. We'll get to more on that in a moment. Here comes D3 and the rest of the group.
I think D3 might be speeding here. It's similar look to Garrett Maines, and I think the 90 was going a little bit faster than Maines was. We'll see here when he gets into his box if he incurred a penalty for speeding on pit road. Now, notably, this group was able to get a big pull off Jimmy Emos coming off of pit road, so maybe they gained a little bit of time they would have lost when that first group came down pit lane. Eberhardt, he skates away without a penalty. I have no idea how the 90 didn't get a penalty right there. Somehow, some way, he leads the group off pit road.
We also saw Connor Cunningham with a near spin there in the back, but he was able to save it. Don't believe he got a penalty. Nope, 24 rolling off clean. So good there. Is nice to see all these groups trying to merge back together. There's a couple bridge cars in the form of lappers. Look like there might have been Ken McCullough Jr., Christopher McCullough Jr. as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they all blend back together. But before they do, let's see if we can go back to this last pit stop where Jeff Merck got turned around. And if this thing goes green the rest of the way, I'm sure Jeff Merck is not going to be a happy customer, and you cannot blame him here. When you're at the front of the field, you feel like you're doing everything right. And let's see here. Ooh, this looks like it's going to be, I have a bad feeling about what this is going to be, but let's see. Go to the cockpit view first here for Jeff Merck. Actually, we're going to go to Ethan Eckert, the car that makes contact with him. Well, that's interesting, Dawson, because, normally in this case, what I would say, and I guess I should kind of break down what happened to the viewers first, is you see the 60 of Jeff Merck. He's still on the racetrack when he starts slowing down for his pit. Now, normally we'd be saying that's a big no-no, you can't do that, and that's kind of on Jeff, but in this case, it's okay. I mean, he gets down below the yellow, and the car that hits him, Ethan Eckert, we saw from the cockpit view, at least to me, it looks like he was committing to pitting too. I think he just gets in too deep. Now, I don't know if Jeff Merck was trying to slow down a little bit more. It looks to me like he was getting in fine. I think that Eckert just gets in way too deep. I mean, you see his speed in comparison to everybody else, but, I mean, the 12 ducks below the yellow as well, which is that indication that he'd be pitting. So that's just wrong place, wrong time for Jeff Merck. And, Ethan Eckert, a little bit less experience with the money racing scene, and that's just a mistake with, worn tires and brakes that aren't necessarily warmed up, trying to come onto the pits. And when he hits Merck, I mean, that's a pretty big shot that does really major damage to the back of that 60 as he does a drift. Now, does a phenomenal job saving it here, and is lucky that he doesn't get hit by anybody else as he starts to roll back. But, I mean, that's going to be a really, really bad break for Merck if we don't see a caution. As you saw Eckert, he spun as well through the tribal. That didn't bring out a caution either, as he was able to slide down below the racing line. But I'll tell you what, that's just an unfortunate break if you're a championship contender there.
Yeah, tough break. I mean, and it's nothing really, it's kind of interesting there. So, obviously Eckert is committing to pit. He's coming from the top, so there's a little bit more you have to do to be able to get down to speed from up there. But then also, Jeff Merck probably isn't driving it in as deep as he could, because as we talked about earlier with Garrett Maines, these guys are wanting to be smart. They're not wanting to be, ultra conservative, kind of roll over, but they're trying to be smart. And what Jeff Merck's trying to do there is, make the smart move. Don't get a penalty, because a penalty ruins your race as well. And unfortunately, as he woes down a little bit more than Eckert does, it's just kind of one of the things that can happen on pit road. It's nothing super egregious. I know Jeff Merck would disagree with me right about now, but to me, nothing majorly egregious there from Ethan Eckert. Just an unfortunate break getting onto pit road. Man, I'll tell you what the fortunate break is, though. Michael Triscaro's charged from about 8th to 1st here in the last lap and a half or so. He's gone all the way around Cody Nagels, but his help bailed out right as he got clear. Kenny Real bails to the top side. That was a weird look right there, perhaps about to expire the engine.
It was a weird look. It almost looked like he was getting a little bit uncomfortable, at least in the back end of that race car. I don't know if he got a push down the backstretch that he didn't like or what, but yeah, you said it. Certainly an odd look, and as he bails out, he'll jump into the back of the line, but that definitely thinned out the herd quite a bit more, to say the least. We still have, looks like almost 20 strong, make it a few less now. In fact, looks like we're actually at 16 cars strong now, as Mike Davenport has fallen off this group as well. So definitely losing drivers each pit stop we go through here, but I think Garrett Maines was, happy to see Jeff Merck drop out right there, in the sense of that lessens the group that he's going against, with NBG having 3 drivers and now only having 2 that are up here, Triscaro and Matthew Baker. So we'll see what they can do, as Andrew Navarro, Brock Westmoreland, those are 2 of the secondary pool drivers fighting for tonight. And right now, I think they actually stand 1-2 in that secondary pool positions. Yes, they do. Jason Maines back in 14th, 3rd for the secondary pool, and then the driver currently sitting last for the secondary pool is not here tonight, and that was Logan York. So he'll be guaranteed that money. And then, I mean, I'm trying to figure out here, based off what we've seen so far, and actually let's go back here before we do that and see how Jeff Merck was doing. The back end of that race car, again, was pretty beat up to the point where it's not going to have great speed now. I was wondering if he would go in and try to get this thing completely repaired. If it had enough speed to stay out, that's his best bet. And it looks like that's exactly what he's done. If you look at the dashboard speeds, it's a little bit under pace, but he's running with this group of, looks like 3 or 4 drivers right now. So he'll be able to stick on that lead lap for a little while, as they are just about a straightaway behind. But again, he is going to need a caution to have a chance of this thing at the end. And with the way the pace is going right now, Dawson, I certainly wouldn't count on it. The only real trouble we've even seen glimpses of tonight have been trying to get into the pits.
Yeah, I won't say unorthodox for this series. That's actually the wrong word to use, because this season, it's kind of been, this race is a microcosm for this season. It's been really, really good racing for the most part. And, tonight, again, kind of a microcosm of that, where this race has been completely clean. The most, danger we've seen is getting onto pit road. And even again right now, I mean, look at this, 4 cars on the outside. And really, we're probably still, I'd say, 10 laps short of pit stops, maybe a little less than 10 short of the pit stop. And, I mean, these guys are all but singled out. It's kind of like we're in a real-life NASCAR Superspeedway race where these guys are just conserving, kind of running, train racing up against the wall, though this time it's along the yellow line. Very odd looks considering what we're used to in these kinds of races, but the race length dictates it. And, as you see, these guys are willing to be content for a while.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I think that's because we're getting to the middle portions of this race, Dawson, and talked about it earlier, some of the mental strain in terms of, it's a lot easier to just kind of relax and cruise single file than it is to get up there and try to stay as close as you can side by side, and I think that's the reason that a lot of these drivers have done so. Of course, could be saving a little bit of fuel as well, but looking at that next pit stop closer to right around lap 60, we'll get a gauge once we see it, but, I mean, for now, if you're Michael Triscaro, got to feel pretty content out in front, and this might be the most relaxed driving that he's going to do out in front through this entire race, because once we get, I would say within normally about 25 laps, but I'm going to say after that final pit stop, boy, you are going to see things pick up in a big way. But I want to talk more on real quick where Jeff Merck was running and where that happened at. What does that do for some of these other drivers, knowing that, Ethan Eckert, Jeff Merck, for example, he was at the front of this pack and still got caught up in an incident getting to the pit. So, usually you think you get to the front, that's the safest place to be. But then after you see that, you start to maybe second guess and think, well, maybe I should try to go in behind all these guys in case there is a spin.
Yeah, it sticks in the back of your mind, for sure. And it's basically this entire run. You're thinking about it already. Especially, when you're not 2x2x2. What in the world did Malik Ray just do? So the 7 of Malik Ray caught my attention for a minute. We'll get back to that in a second. But, no, it sticks in your mind as a driver. You're thinking about it right now. If I'm Michael Triscaro, if I'm Garrett Maines, if I'm Matthew Baker, okay, well, I see the 12 car back there. He's in this lead group, but I see those other cars behind me, and I'm thinking, look, just let me get into pit road. You guys do what you want to do, but let me get into pit road. I don't want that to happen to me, because it's basically a night ender. It sticks in your mind as a driver, and it's not just going to be on this stop either. It's going to be on every stop from here on out.
Wow, that was really close, Dawson. I didn't mean to interrupt there, but
no.
Michael Triscaro and Garrett Maines, that could have been a whole lot worse right there. Looked like a pretty ordinary move, but just the way they kind of bumped as he made the move was not going to end too well there. These tires would have been even a little bit more worn out, but I saw exactly what you were talking about there with Malik and Jimmy Emos. I was a little confused too. I think Malik initially thought about jumping out to try to pick up Jimmy Emos. Sometimes these guys will do that for lappers, especially if they're not really racing for anything right now. Just kind of a friendly gesture, but I think he realized that the speed difference was just way too much and decided to bail out of it. So Jimmy Emos lost another lap, and now we have quite a few drivers that are at least 1 lap down. In fact, I know I said Emos is the only one that is 2 laps down, but 23rd all the way back to 27th. That's Christopher McCullough, Ethan Eckert, Jared Haynes, Ken McCullough Jr., and Sean Corbett. They are all sitting a lap down, so a caution would certainly get at least one of those drivers their lap back, but it's not going to get everybody a lap back. So with 48, almost 50 laps complete, you still, I think, got to start thinking about what are you going to do if you make a mistake on the pits. Do you have anybody that you can go help late in this race? I mean, I think if you're Jeff Merck and you fall into a position where things aren't going to work out, do you maybe change it around to trying to help a teammate out? How do you go about it?
Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of where, this is the opposite end of that. The argument from earlier where, okay, yeah, it's $300, but I kind of want to be named champion, so I want to win. When you get in a position like Jeff Merck is in right now, and it's such a tough spot to be in, you kind of have to just say, talk to your teammates and be like, look, I'm not going to get back in this race if there's no caution. Even if there is one with no fast repair, can you repair all the damage? Can you get back up to speed? Ultimately you have to just kind of tell your teammates, okay, look, we're pivoting. I'm going to focus on you guys. One of you two is going to win the championship. That's kind of where you pivot to if you get in a spot like this. It's tough as a driver. You want to be able to race, but In a spot like this where Jeff Merck is at, unfortunately, it's what the circumstances have handed you. But that's the benefit of having two of your teammates in the Final Four.
I don't know what Malik Ray has got going on, but I mean, he's been all over the place. Looks like
distracted me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he's trying to distract the field away. Him and Dylan. I think they're messing with us up here in the broadcast booth. They look like they're playing Mario Kart. But man, oh man, I was thinking for a minute that Malik was trying to drop out, but I think they're just having some fun. And I mean, hey, why not? Again, we're cruising right now, 50 laps in, and those are two of the best guys you'll find out here. So I'm sure we'll see at least Malik, maybe Dylan in the SummerSlam as well. Now, I do want to say that Season 5 of Tuesday Night Thunder has been officially announced. And so the schedule has followed, and, you know, nothing crazy new as Garrett Maines is going to slide to the bottom. He'll reclaim the lead, but Talladega, Daytona making up majority of the schedule. Looks like it's a pretty long season again. It'll start, looks like just about a month's time from now. And so that'll be, looks like August 6th, then goes all the way till November 26th. And I think I thought I heard that the race would be the week before Thanksgiving. I don't know how they're going to sort it all out. But, I mean, looking at some of the highlights here, Dawson, we make a return to Atlanta. Looks like one time that season. That was a good track. And then the big change for me, which we're seeing this in PGR 2 for quarter 3, is they're going to make a stop at Michigan in the Xfinity cars. And I'll tell you what, Michigan's a fun track in general, and I can tell you that with the Xfinity cars, that adds quite a bit of technicality to that track. That's going to certainly be in the hands of the drivers a lot more than what we're normally used to seeing.
Oh, I could sit here and rave for hours about this combo coming next season. It's going to be my absolute most anticipated stop on that season, and I hope we get a good turnout. These cars are an absolute blast to race at that track, to watch at that racetrack. It's incredible to watch these guys wheel them. You think they're hard to drive right now? Put them in Michigan. There's not much grip there. You really have to save some tire. The tire fall off. And kind of the variation of lines you see when tires get old there is so fun to watch. And it's going to be an incredible kind of twist, something we're not used to in these kinds of races. Look, I mean, candidly, we race super speedways all the time. That's not something these guys are going to be accustomed to, at least most of them. So that's going to be so interesting to watch them tackle. I can't wait. It's one of my favorite combos on the service right now. I love it, and I can't wait to see these guys tackle it.
Up front for KSR, it's Trevor Ozernoff as we take another view of his driver cam. And right now, as it stands, looks like Christopher McCullough Jr. is trying to get his lap back the hard way on the outside of the racetrack. So this is going to be interesting in terms of the battle for the lead, but more importantly, still expecting another round of pit stops. And I would say it's probably going to be about, I don't know, a handful of laps or so from now. So before we get to that point, going to take our first break tonight, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back in the championship race. Well, you know what? We're going to hold that thought because we're going to get three wide now up front. Looks like that's Landon Veliky looking to the outside with Jason Maines in the middle. It's Ethan Eckert and Alex Hill. So a couple of lap cars playing hectic up front. What do you make of this, Dawson?
I mean, not really a ton. And by the way, at least I'm looking to see who's a lap car and who's not. It looks like all these guys up here are on the lead lap, at least on my timing and scoring. I've got them all scored on the lead lap. There was a lap car in this group. It was Jared Haynes, but he's dropped way out, probably smartly the way these guys are racing right now. But, well, of course we had to go and talk about it because now they settle it back out to two wide. So forget all that three wide action. They drop right back down to two, but usually this added intensity means a pit stop is coming. We're getting close to that target lap, and guys are trying to get track position before they come down pit road. Yeah,
usually the cue is when Daniel Eberhardt and Dylan Jones start moving to the front, which looks like they're doing right now. But looking at the scoring again, just to make sure we have confirmation on that, I can say it looks like for sure that, yeah, Ethan Eckert, he is currently a lap down. Christopher McCullough he's technically on the lead lap with where he runs right now. And then you also had, going a bit further back, well, actually I said Ethan Eckert already. So those two were the main two that were running a lap down that were at the front of this field in the middle and then leading the bottom. And then Landon Veliky up top was not, or he is on the lead lap, excuse me. And here we go, another round of pits. Oh, Garrett's going to turn Trevor. Garrett turns Trevor into the pits. Oh, he's trying to save it, but the 89's going to go for a slide onto the apron. That's another big mistake, not for a championship driver, but Trevor Ozernoff is not going to be too happy as further back Davenport gets in a little hot. It looks like he's going to get slowed up. Did Garrett get a penalty from that? That would be the next question here.
Watching to see if his pit stop is extended. It is not. It does not appear. He is rolling. and he's off the pit lane right about the same time as the rest of these guys. So Garrett dodges another bullet, but yeah, does not make a friend in the 89, that's for sure. Trevor Osborne, he's going to remember that one. He's going to write it down on the mental notepad and keep that one in the book for later in the race if they were to be in a spot where maybe he can cut Garrett a break. Expect at least most of the rest of these guys on pit road this time by.
Yeah, he shot the bullet, it ricocheted, and then he dodged it, but here we go. Oh, big lockup up front for the 12 of Ethan Eckert. And he's going to get in okay this time. It looks like there was a few brief lockups further back, but no issues as the 12 will dive down low. Malik Ray is going to jump into his pit box as well. And so this group should mark just about the end of pit stops. Still have one more group that's got to come in, and that's Andrew Navarro, Daniel Everhart, and a couple others, as they're trying to stretch this thing out as far as they can on each of these stops. And so once we complete the pit stops, we'll go back and look at that incident involving Garrett Maines and Trevor Oswald. But at least for now, as there goes Trevor, looks like Malik's going to lead this group out, followed by Kenny Real, who's doing a phenomenal job here tonight. And then Alex Hill, Ethan Eckert, who again, not on the lead lap, so not for a position. And here we go. Let's see. Navarro, Everhart, and Jones off turn 4. Looks like they're going to bring it down. Dylan Basson will follow.
Last 4 cars on pit road for this cycle. We'll hit pit road on lap 56, which means I believe 2 cycles of green flag pit stops remain. One coming somewhere, around lap 74 or so. The last one likely will be inside of 10 laps to go, and boy, you're eagerly anticipating these last 2 stops. So much can be solved, and so much clarity can be brought on those last 2 stops, and all the pressure in the world is going to be on the 4 drivers fighting for the championship. And man, they're in a hornet's nest behind the 2 leaders, Malik Ray, Kenny Real. They got away relatively unscathed. They're way out in front of this group.
Yeah, but unfortunately the draft, it's the great equalizer for a reason. They are not going to be able to stay that far away for much longer. Here comes a big run from Alex Hill and Cody Nagels, the 2 NASCAR eSports teammates. It looks like they're going to screen by the outside of Trevor Osronoff here. That'll put them all 3 wide here just briefly. Garrett did end up getting out okay. I think we noted that already. So let's go back and actually look at this incident for Garrett Maines and Trevor Osronoff coming onto the pits. And I said Garrett turned him. That's just, initial kind of reaction to it is, we say that in the sense of where it looks like the contact ensued, which certainly did right there. Now, as to who was where and kind of how it happened, we got to look at replay to determine that. So let's go to the chopper view first. And so they both bail off okay here. And then as Garrett comes down, looks like okay there. It's really odd looking, isn't it, Dawson? It's almost like, notice how Garrett's straight. He looks nice and stable, under control, and then all of a sudden it kind of snaps. Oh, it's when he hits the downshift that it snaps left on him. You saw the fire out of the pipes right before it did so. So I wonder if that means it was a little bit of an early downshift for Garrett. Let's see here. Let's go to the cockpit view and listen to the RPMs here and watch the wheel for Garrett Maines. Yeah, I think that's an early downshift, Dawson. I'll tell you what, something with it, because when he shifts down here, you can almost see the RPMs hopping around here. So maybe he got some wheel hop from downshifting early. Whatever the case was, I think that was certainly something to do with the shift where, hey, if Trevor Oswald's not there, Garrett's probably fine. I don't think it snapped the car that out of control, but with just how close they're running in proximity, it just makes it a tough break for Trevor Oswald, who obviously he couldn't do anything about that mistake.
No, there's not much, he could have done. It's unfortunate for Trevor, who was having a really good run up to that point, leading laps. Unfortunately, again, it's similar to Ethan Eckert and Jeff Merck. It's just kind of one of those things that happens coming to pit road. I know, that Trevor, like Merck, would probably disagree with me, but I don't think Garrett did anything egregious there either. He's trying to get, a little bit of extra ground on pit road. That's who Garrett Maines is. That's who we've always known him to be. He's going to get every bit that he can out of the race car in the conditions that he's in, and right there, unfortunately, just kind of snaps around on him as he went to downshift. I'm sure he wasn't expecting to take a 45-degree left coming to pit road. I'm sure that was not in the cards for Garrett Maines right there, but it's unfortunate. It's a tough break, and it unfortunately bit the 89 right there, but Trevor is still at the front of the field, per se, and trying to get his lap back the hard way.
Well, guess who's coming back to the front? Matthew Baker, and he's bringing along quite the cavalry as Jason Maines jumps up top. That is not for the championship, but Jason Maines is fighting for that secondary pool, so he decided to hop on the train that's going to the front. And right now, Osronoff's still in the middle, and boy, that's only about fitting, isn't it? He is currently sitting in front of Garrett Maines, and I have a feeling if Garrett wanted to make a move, Trevor's not going to be necessarily too easy and just giving it to him. So who knows? Maybe Garrett's okay with trying to just hold Trevor up there. Says, hey, man, listen, I'm sorry. I'll push you around here for a little bit since it's not for position anyway. But sooner or later here, he's going to have to dispose of the 89 here because that lane's starting to get backed up. Oh, hold on. Man, oh, man, 3 wide. And, is this going to work? Oswald's 4 wide.
Oh, still 4. Hold it together, boys. 4 wide, still 4 wide. They're going to stay 4. They may go 2 rows 4 here. Matthew Baker throws it to the safer barrier. 2 rows of 4 wide as the NBG car's in. They're going to bail out quickly, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. I like the move if it's about 30 laps from now, but with 40 laps to go, Baker, Triscaro, and Jared Haynes, they say, all right, we're going to bail out, take a breath, let's calm down, and we're right back to 2 wide. Man, that was almost nail-biting climbing the banking there in 1.
Man, when you see 4 wide in any series, it doesn't usually end well, but especially in these cars, I think you said it. I think Baker and them, the racer's instinct immediately, they saw the gap, went for it, but then kind of the back of the mind, that alter ego, whatever you want to call it, kicked in and said, whoa, hold on a second, no fast repair. I know how this one ends, and yeah, he quickly made that decision to get the heck out of there, and so as they fade back to 2x2, I think that might have been the breather these guys needed a little bit to realize, okay, let's calm things down. I mean, we're at that point in the race where it does start the impatience. It does start to set in, not so much because you know that the end is near, but more so because you start to realize, man, this is getting a little boring. Not in the sense of there's not been anything going on, but just you're ready to really go for it, and you know that there's a championship at the end of this thing, and just the adrenaline starts to get going, and that's when we see those crazy moves start to be made.
Well, I'll tell you also, it's probably a product of this race being what it is. The fact that this is a championship race, the fact that both those cars that jump to the outside are in championship fights, let alone Jason Maines. He's in his own championship fight, if you will, tonight. So those guys realized pretty quickly, okay, the stakes are higher tonight. We're racing for more. If it was 5 weeks ago, we probably would have stuck that, probably would have tried it. But tonight, knowing what's at stake, knowing there's still 35, 40 laps to go, bail out. Let's all just calm down. Everybody take a deep breath. Get back locked in. We still have 2 pit stops left as well. And they realize there's so much more to race for tonight, so much time left that they can make that move a little bit later. But hey, write it down in the notepad, write it down in the textbook, if you will, because that move might work. About 30 laps from now, you might not see them lift out of that. You might see them try to stick it, and it might just win one of them a championship.
You got that right. Well, I know we talked about the championship payouts here tonight, but the other payout that we need to talk about is the race payout. It looks like from at least the info that we have here from the flyer, a little bit more than what we're used to seeing here tonight. Actually, I would say maybe a lot more than we're used to seeing here tonight. And again, these are race payouts. So if you think about it this way, if you're a championship driver and you win this race, you'll be making a whole lot of money. $300 to first place here tonight, $250 to second, $200 to third, $150 to fourth, $100 to fifth, and $50 to sixth. And that was, I believe, I ended up hearing that we got just too short of what the flyer said. So those payouts will hold pretty true. And you figure if whoever wins this race, if it's a championship driver, they're going to take home $700. If a secondary pool driver wins this race, $525. So a lot of money to be made here tonight. And that's why it becomes that tough decision at the end of these things, Dawson, of how hard do you fight your teammates? I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. You said it. A championship, it's got a nice ring to it. And, man, it's a good title to have. It gives you confidence. It gives you a little bit of a name. It gives you that extra respect level. But, I mean, man, a chance to take home $700, I almost think you got to coordinate with your teammates here, especially if you're NBG. And, I mean, the position they're in, they could take home well over $1,000 here tonight, kind of bearing on the way some things fare out here in the end.
Well, and again, that's kind of the dilemma that you're in as a driver here. If you're one of those guys that's in the championship 4, it's, all right, well, look, I want to be named champion. And obviously, when you kind of consider, okay, Matthew Baker, he's looking to get, vengeance for last season, as well as, complete what would be the most dominant season in one of these league formats that we have ever seen, which I believe would be his 7th or 8th win of the season. It would be an incredibly dominant run, but no one wants this win, this title more than Michael Triscaro, who has, we've seen all the bad luck. We've seen him now get to this point, claw his way to this point. No one wants it more than him, really, or Baker. But eventually you got to ask yourself, do I jeopardize a teammate to do that when you could make that much of a profit? It's some tough conversations, some tough thought processes going on, I imagine, right now for the team communications for NBG.
I'm sure there is. And Another pit stop that we are expecting in about 8 to 10 laps from now. Man, you could tell that was a little bit of an eager push right there from Alex Hill as it got his teammate Cody Nagels just a little bit sideways. And that was, I would say, a conservative push because Alex wasn't trying to lock on. He was just trying to give him a little bit of a bump to keep him up to speed. But boy, that was certainly another close call. But as we remain 2x2 here, before we do get to this next round of pit stops, we're going to take our first break of the night. Go get a drink of water. Meet us back here as we continue our coverage of the championship race for Tuesday Night Thunder Season 4 at Talladega. Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. Hard into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega. Welcome back to the championship race for Season 4 of Tuesday Night Thunder. No change really since we went to break. Still 2x2 action as we await what should be the second to last pit stop here of the night. 70 of 100 laps complete. And I'll tell you what, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Been keeping an eye on the chat. It has been certainly a busy one here tonight. Shout out to all the people that we at least see in the chat and then the rest watching that we don't see. Glad you're here. Robert Miller, Baker's Mom, Devin Ray, Donaldo Adams, Joey, John Darnell, good to see you back in here. I know he was making his return to the money racing scene just as of recent. Don Merck's in here. Hope you're having a good night. Looks like Kevin Nagels has made a stop by. Mark Math, Tyler Vickery. And if we forgot anyone, looks like Jeff made a stop in here as well. So if we forgot anyone, I do apologize. But again, good to see you guys all in here. And well, we have a quick moment again. Still kind of at that point in the race where just taking off laps. Really nothing else at this point. I want to take a chance here to go see if we can get a quick word with John Darnell, who I know is out watching here tonight, and see what his take's been on some of the races that we've seen here tonight. Hey, John Darnell, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy? Give him just a moment, see if we can still dial him in here. Hey, John, this is also up in the booth. You got a copy? doesn't look like he's around right now, so guess we're not going to be able to get an interview, but John Darnell, we know, is watching the chat here tonight, so we're going to try to pull him in for a few moments, but hey, nonetheless, keep the action back on track where up front, the 77 of Alex Hill leads. Trevor Osmanoff, you see him leading the outside, but that is not for position. Currently sits a lap down. Jason Maines, Ethan Eckert just behind him. And so it looks like we have had a couple questions, by the way, on where is Logan York. I thought we mentioned it, but just in case we didn't. Yes, oh, well, hold on. We got some pit stops here, so we're going to hold that thought again. Oh, this is a little bit of a, almost feels like off cycle here for some of the guys that we see pitting here. Brock Westmoreland, he's in, maybe the only guy for position, at least out of that lead pack that brought it down. A couple others, though. Sean Corbett, looks like the 24 is in as well. And then a couple of lap down drivers, Connor Cunningham, Chris Walker in. And so that's a little bit of an interesting stop. We'll see how the rest of the field reacts to this, responds, if you will. But getting back to it real quick before we go to Dawson, I do want to say that, yeah, Logan York did not make the race here tonight. He was eligible, just not sure if he had work obligations or car obligations, but that is why he's not in here tonight. Again, he would have been one of the drivers fighting for that secondary pool, but nonetheless, he is still guaranteed that final A spot. So still, I think, whatever it was, $125, $150. So good there, and here we go for pit stops.
And this is a big group, and again, this is a consequential group. Trevor Osmanoff way too quick. Penalty, Jason Maines is around. Ethan Eckert, they're going to come together on pit road right by the championship contenders.
And man, Jason,
wow, how did he get away from that one?
And Jason had to let it roll when he did too, and that's why he rolled back and endorsed somebody. But if he didn't, he wasn't going to make the pits, and it would have been disastrous. That was really quick heads-up thinking there from Jason Maines. But man, these pit stops, Dawson, they just keep getting kind of more and more on the edge, sketchier and sketchier, if you will. And oh my goodness, I mean, I think with one more stop, as close as they're getting to being on the edge, I think the next one is going to be when we see a couple guys potentially push this thing over the edge. But right now, looks like this group's all going to get out relatively clean. Looking to see if anybody stayed in. Oh, Jason Maines came out late. That's not a championship driver. That was a secondary pool driver, and that pit stop is going to cost him greatly. That will add another driver now that's going to need a caution here.
Yeah, and it's another tough break. But like you said, man, that could have been so much worse for Jason Maines. That could have really been disaster for the driver of the one and for our championship contenders that were right there as well. So I hate it for Jason. Obviously, he's going to hate it as well. But at the same time, man, he did a great job to not jeopardize the championship race right there. And, you know, really, really clutch thinking on his part to be able to stay off those guys. And now, as we kind of watch this, you know, group come back together, you talk about thinning the herd. Boy, it's really thin now. And we got, I believe, all four of our championship contenders, or excuse me, 3 of our 4 championship contenders in about a group of 10 cars that are going to have to duke it out for this one.
Well, here comes that other group that did not make the pit stop yet, and that consisted of Andrew Navarro, Daniel Eberhardt, Dylan Basson, and Dylan Jones. And I like the odds of these guys right here, Dawson. They have been so smooth on the pits all night, and you know, I know right now you might be wondering to yourself, why do they keep pitting, you know, 1, 2, maybe even 3 laps after that first group? Well, the way they're setting themselves up for that final pit stop, they'll be able to take 2 or 3 laps less fuel than everybody else, and that could be the difference as long as they get in and out smooth of potentially them having a breakaway from everybody else. And while none of them are, you know, technically in it for the championship, we talk about those race payouts. That's pretty good here tonight, so no surprise to see D3 and company with a good run going here tonight. Navarro, I said not for a championship, but he is for that secondary pool, so we'll see how they merge back in here with the rest of the field as we wait to see Matt Lee, who's getting pushed by Garrett Maines. Looks like they'll go by this group on the backstretch. And, you know, even though they had to take more fuel again on this stop, Dawson, they still got out ahead. So if I'm that second group back, I might be getting a little nervous about these 4 right here. They might either want to start trying to save fuel or, I mean, do something, because like I said, with as far as they came out in front right there, and then you include the fact that they're going to take less fuel on that next stop, they might have just enough to get out of drafting range of everybody else.
There's 2 different mindsets here. And there's one if you're going for the race payouts, or if you're, you know, Jason Maines. Obviously, Jason Maines having that problem on pit road. But if you're one of those guys that's going for that secondary payout, then yeah, you know, maybe you want to go off cycle because Andrew Navarro's in that group. Or if you're just looking for the race win, if you're a championship driver, though, if you're Triscaro, Baker, or Maines in this case, are the ones that are left on the lead lap, I don't know, because you don't need to win the race. Those 4 guys can drive off and win the race. For all you care, You just got to be in front of 2 other guys at this point that are on the lead lap, and you win the championship regardless. So I know you want the bigger payout for winning the race. I get that. The ultimate goal tonight is the championship for 3 of the 4 guys left on the lead lap. So there's a bit of a different mindset to it for them. I don't think they're going to be as worried if those 4 guys get out a little bit in front.
I don't think they will either, but man, 3 wide right now. This is dicey. This is what we've been waiting on all night. I think it's still a little bit too early, but they sure as heck don't. And so here we go. Michael Trasquero, Cody Nagels in the middle. Oh, Alex Hill moves up to the middle of the racetrack as Lee gave him a big shot, but this is the first time these guys have been 3 wide tonight, Dawson. Older tires, and right now, I don't know if any of them necessarily look too comfortable doing it.
I don't either. They definitely are not comfortable right now. We are approaching 80 laps on your right side tires, and as the right sides wear on this car, it frees up badly. And so as these guys get further into this run, their cars are going to dance. They're going to get more off center because you're taking left side tires, but you're not taking right side tires. A serious imbalance now between your rights and your lefts. That's going to make that car very, very hard to drive and so easy to upset the back end of that car, get it sideways. And like we've been talking about all night, one minuscule wrong move could send the field into chaos, completely throw a wrench in our championship fight among the 3 drivers left. And actually, now that I look back there, it's 4 drivers left and only 3 on the lead lap. But Jeff Merck, man, his MVG teammates love to see this. He's back with the lead draft.
Yeah, I think he finally made that decision that we were talking about earlier, and it's a tough one to make, but looks like he did go in, got that rear bumper fixed up pretty much the best he could, and so as a result now, it certainly looks a lot better, and that car's going to be a lot faster, but he lost a lot of time. In fact, went 4 laps down, so I mean, he's going to either need a caution right now or he would need all 3 other championship drivers to wreck out pretty soon to have a chance at getting past them being 4 laps down. So Jeff Merck, tough spot for his personal chances, but for the team championship side of it, certainly in a good position to do so. We'll see how things work out. Still 3x3. Oh, man. I thought Baker got pushed out of line, but I think he was just trying to slot down into the middle in front of Ethan Eckert. That leaves Malik Ray and Christopher McCullough all by themselves on the outside. And as quickly as things were 3 wide there and starting to get a little bit exciting, they quickly are going to go back down to 2 wide. And we'll take this chance. Looks like I think John Darnell got his mic fixed up, so we're going to see if we can bring him in here for just a moment one more time. Hey, John, this is Austin up in the booth. Got a copy? And it sounds like you're a little quiet, John. Can you hear us? John, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do. Can you hear me?
Yep, there we go. Well, hey, I know that we're sitting here watching the race. We're broadcasting and you're watching it, but you've been in a couple of these, but you've been out for a little while. You made the return to money racing, but so far, what have you liked that you've seen here tonight?
Well, I like the way Trascaro's, keeping it up front like he normally does, man. He's just been real unfortunate as of now. I just hope he can get him a big RMR championship here. Tuesday Night Thunder, man, it would be really awesome with PGR guys.
Certainly would be. And before we get back to the action on track, got one more question for you. We got the SummerSlam coming up. First question is, are you thinking about competing in it? And what are you hoping to see from this race and that one?
I'm watching all these guys here are the guys that are going to be running up front in that race. And I've been signed up since I came back, man, and I'm practicing every day with this Xfinity car. And the Talladega set up, and just I'm going to put my best out there on display.
We're looking forward to seeing that event. Well, we appreciate some of the quick words. Good to see you back, John, and we'll talk to you or see you on the racetrack.
Yes, sir. Also, you and Dawson, man, you guys really do a really good job, man. I keep your guys' stuff in my car still today.
Certainly appreciate it. All right. That was John Darnell. We appreciate some of the quick words. And I'll tell you what, Dawson, he was saying it. He loved what he sees here tonight. He's excited. And guess what he said? That the same guys that he sees up front in this, he knows he's going to see up front in the SummerSlam. We're looking forward to that, by the way. July, correct me if I'm wrong, the exact dates. I know it's, I believe, the July 27th and 28th. I know it's that weekend. Yep, sure enough. Saturday will be all the prelims, and then Sunday is going to be the main event. And so make sure you tune in for that. It'll be right here on PGR eSports. But right now, still 2x2. We saw a couple more glimpses of 3 wide. And Dawson, I think we're about a lap or 2 away from being in that final fuel window. How do you go about this one? Do you flip it around and try to pit as soon as it opens, or do you try to run the tank out still?
I think if you're Andrew Navarro or Daniel Eberhardt or Dylan Jones or one of those guys that pit on that, later part of the run, Dylan Basson as well, if you're one of those guys, I think you just stay out and run your strategy because you're not taking as much as the rest of the field. That you're going to be a little bit shorter on a pit stop. Now, if you are everyone else that came down a little bit earlier that did not run as long, I say flip it. I say as soon as you're in the window, come to pit road, come down, get your service done, and that way, not only are you taking about the same amount of fuel, you're also getting that done mentally. You have more time to set yourself up, especially if you're one of these three that remains in the championship battle. You have time to get yourself set, to know what you're going to do, to game plan, to get yourself ready for this last run, because ultimately, and this is what it comes down to. This pit stop, this short run to the end, a champion will be decided in the next 17 laps. It's crunch time now, so I'd go ahead and pit. I'd pit right here, get my game plan set, get my partners around me, and get ready to go to work.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too, because when I see 3 wide, I'm still getting nervous. Baker and Christopher McCullough, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There was nobody doing anything wrong there. They just both went for the same piece of real estate at the same time, but that's the risk these guys are running. And again, as soon as we get through this pit stop, all bets are off. It's go for it. But I just think you got to make it there. It would be a horrible, horrible shame to make it this far in the race and have it come to an end here, getting just a little bit too aggressive before the pay window's open. So Alex Hill, Cody Nagels, Matt Lee, they're not worried about it, so they're already trying to set themselves up to be in good position for the end of this thing. I still think Eberhardt, Navarro, Dylan Basson, and a couple others are in the best position, that group that pit last. But while we keep an eye on them, still keeping an eye up front to when we are going to see that final pit stop. Just 16 laps to go in Season 4 for Tuesday Night Thunder to crown a champion. We've already seen quite a few great seasons up until this point, but man, you said earlier, Dawson, we have never seen a season as dominated by one driver as this one. Matthew Baker, well over a handful of wins this season, and when you compare how many races are on the schedule, he probably won close to half of them, and if he could win here tonight, I think that would cap off what would be easily the best season, probably historically, in Tuesday Night Thunder we'll ever see. And certainly a storybook season for Baker, along with NBG in general, bringing 3 drivers in. But then on the flip end of that, you go to a guy, Garrett Maines, the top of the top, not only in super speedway racing, but iRacing in general. That's one of the Coke drivers for a reason. And he's been in this position multiple times, looking to see if he can get the job done here tonight. But he doesn't look like he's got a ton of help right now. I think maybe he's working with somebody such as Malik Ray. Besides that, though, it's looking pretty lonely up there for the one car.
It's been lonely the whole night, but as the herd continues to thin, it just gets lonelier for the driver of the one, and it's so unique. And we'll see if they pit right here, and they have to interrupt my thought again. No, they will not. But it's so kind of interesting to look at the different storylines, kind of the different positions these guys are in. Garrett Maines, like you said, is the top of the food chain for oval racing on iRacing. He's the top of the top. He and Malik Ray are in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. They got the black stripes on the back of their car, and they got there for a reason. They are the top of the food chain of what we do. Matthew Baker is the top of the food chain for what we do here on Tuesday nights, and that's money racing, super speedway racing. He's the top of the food chain of that. One of the most dominant drivers we see night in, night out, with a killer instinct. And so, you have kind of that contrasting style. And then you have Michael Triscaro, who is, the scrappiest guy out here by far, in my opinion. And I don't think he'd disagree with me saying that. He's clawed for everything he's gotten. And boy, what a position he's in right now. We've seen so much bad luck out of him. We know he has the speed to run up front. And for the last month and a half, it seems like, he's flipped a switch. He's turned into a different driver. He's just transformed his game into becoming, again, a guy with killer instinct, which is what you need to win these races. It's how he got into this spot. It's how he's in this position right now. Can he capitalize and win the championship? 3 very, very unique storylines, origin stories, if you will, for the guys left in the championship.
And he probably wants it the most out of any of them right now, because he's come so close so many times in different series, the top of the top. And yeah, you said it. I completely agree. And boy, he made his way in terms of moving up the ranks in iRacing pretty quickly to where he is now, which is one of the best super speedway guys we see out here. But Matthew Baker, another one of the seasoned veterans, and it is going to come down to who is in the right place at the right time. Still got to get through this pit stop too, and it has got to be perfect. 13 laps to go, starting to get closer and closer to the end in terms of fuel mileage. How far will these guys take it? Eberhardt, Jones, Basson, and Navarro still no move to the pits yet. In fact, looks like they jumped to the outside as up front Nagels jumps to the inside. And so they're starting to move up. Wonder if that's a signal that they're ready to get to the front. And now that'll put Malik Ray on the back bumper of Michael Triscaro, looking kind of like flashbacks a couple weeks ago here, Dawson. Does the 7 try to repay the favor and push the 34 to victory here tonight?
This is precisely what we were talking about earlier when you posed the question, will Malik help Michael Triscaro if the situation presents itself? Well, he's got an opportunity to pay it forward from last week and make up for, again, what's not really a mistake, just was unlucky. He's got a chance to make up for it. And man, how well does the story write itself with 12 laps to go? Malik Ray pushes Michael Triscaro. He may be to the point by the time we hit the line. The prime Chevrolet Camaro is going to take the lead with 11 laps to go alongside Cody Nagels. And look who's helping him. It's Malik Ray.
Yeah, pushing it might be a nice way to say it. I mean, he is shoving the taillights out of him right now, trying to get him clear of Nagels, but to no prevail as they work through 1 and 2. Nagels will start to make a comeback on the bottom with the help of his teammate Alex Hill. 2 by 2, they remain down the Alabama gang back straightaway. The 12 on the outside, Ethan Eckert, continues to play a role in this race, even though he's a lap down as he continues to run towards the front of this pack, as does Christopher McCullough. Still pretty good formation on that second lane, which makes me think that still nobody necessarily too sure of pit stops, at least anytime soon. Unless, of course, that is they're expecting a lot of guys on the bottom to have to drop out before the top, but I don't think that's the case. They're all going to go around, and this time we are going to see 10 laps to go. But I'll tell you what's a little interesting here, Dawson, is Matthew Baker. He's been making a couple interesting moves up and down the racetrack. Not sure if he's trying to set himself up for something or what the deal is, but he's been kind of all over the place the last couple laps. Not sure what the story is with the 5, but it looks like he's still sitting in pretty good position as right now he runs in 7th.
I think it's very similar to kind of what Garrett Maines has done tonight, and he's continued to do it. He's running smart. You know, we're used to seeing Maines and Baker kind of be the guys to throw the haymakers throughout the race, to throw blocks, to jump 3 wide, to always be just 110% pedal to the firewall, you know, all times. Tonight, they've kind of drawn it back. They're more like 80% right now, though they won't be in a moment, and they won't be especially right now. The money stop is underway.
Here we go. Can everybody get in clean? Try to keep it all. Well, never mind. Apparently we missed it here. Cameras had an absolute meltdown, but didn't see actually that many pit stops from that view. There we go. Looks like it wasn't too many of them, and they all did get in clean. Apologize for the Fox camera work right there, but nonetheless, looks like as they all make it down, Matt Lee, Cody Nagels, they'll get into their boxes just fine. Jason Maines, and we'll back that up a little bit so we could actually see it here. And watch as they got in here. There was a couple of lockups, but I don't think any of them were anything too severe as Jason was a lap down, but these were all the guys on the lead lap, and the one right there to keep an eye on was Garrett Maines because he is a championship contender and gets in clean. So, hey, good job by all these guys making the last stop, the most important one, the cleanest one. And here we go, off of turn 4. Do we see any more stops right here? Andrew Navarro's going to stay out, but here we go.
Here we go, and you're watching the 34 and the 5. Can everybody get in clean? A little bit tight right there, but everybody all the way in. Looks like everybody's clean. Eckert and McCullough gave Triscaro a ton of room right there. You notice Ethan Eckert, I think he remembered what happened earlier and said, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I can't make that mistake again. And these guys all make their pit boxes. Looks like it to me. And now the race is on because now those 2 early groups have come and gone, and now that leaves these 4 cars on the racetrack. How long can Navarro and company stretch it?
Halfway there. They got to get out clean, though. Let's see. All right, now they have completed the cycle 100%. So here we go. You said it, Dawson. The race is on for that, but the race for the win isn't quite on yet because we still await the final pit stops from Everhart, Navarro, Jones, and Basson.
Wow, they're coming now.
Yes, they do, and by them coming
That's
now,
early.
that is early, but remember, they'll still have to take lessons. Oh, Navarro, big lockup, as did Everhart Jones. That shows you how hard they were pushing it because I think they know that they could have a chance at winning this thing just off strategy. Watch how much fuel they take here. We're going to pull up the track map and try to get every camera angle we can on this. I think they've got a great shot at this. There's the leaders just now working into turn 3. Oh, look at that. Daniel Everhart is already back on the gas and rolling. The leaders just now working out of turn 4. Dawson, this is going to be really, really close. They got out of the pits. They got to get up to speed, but it looks like they have a pretty good lead right now.
Oh, and then they're out of sorts up front and with the provisional leaders. What in the world? The 3 Nightmare cars and Garrett Maines can't get it sorted out. They are just duking between each other here and allowing those cars to run away. Now, notably, Dylan Dawson got kind of left behind in this exchange. Eberhard, Navarro, Jones got away clean. Now, the question will be, with more cars coming behind them, will they be able to keep it? Will they be able to maintain that gap that they have? I don't think they're going to stay far enough ahead to be out of draft range, but a valiant effort nonetheless. And we got more important things to look at. Garrett Maines, there's that block. Malik back to the middle. Big move.
Big moves being made now. That's because the pay window is open. 7 laps to go to be crowned a champion. Who wants it the most? Garrett leads the championship battle. Michael Triscaro up top. Matthew Baker in the middle. Triscaro couldn't find the help that he needed right there, so he'll have to stick to the outside, at least momentarily he will, as now he'll shuffle back into the middle line. And you said, Dawson, you thought it was going to be close up front in terms of could they hold out that lead. It's still close. Right now they're a second and a half plus, so that second group hasn't caught their draft yet, but I think they're coming at enough of a pace that they're going to get there in about 2 laps or so, maybe less than that. And when they do, well, you talk about chaos, I think that's when the big one might strike.
Yeah, because now you got championship guys duking. Our championship, 3 that are left, really all 4 of them, if you count Jeff Mark, are lined up in the outside line. Maines, oh my goodness, if I'm Garrett Maines, man, I might be freaking out a little bit looking in the mirror, because you got 3 teammates, all 3 of which are championship drivers, staring you in the face in your rearview mirror. This is almost nightmare scenario here for Garrett Maines in the 1, and he's a sitting duck of sitting ducks right now, coming to 5 laps to go.
And you look at the driver cams and all the faces right there of the NBG teammates, and they are looking like they are stressed right now. They know what's on the line. Even Jeff Merck, who's technically not fighting for the championship at the moment with the position he's in, he knows that they're setting up the move, and I think right now, oh wow, Triscaro back to the bottom. Now he's going to go back to the top. That was interesting. I was getting ready to say, I mean, I think that if you're these 3, Dawson, right now you're trying to control, make sure nobody else behind you jumps third, and you're just setting up for that final lap to try to make that 3-wide move.
I agree. I fully agree. Now, where that's going to be maybe a bit of a wrench here is when they get to these 3 cars who have hogged the middle lane. Contact Matt Lee and Malik Ray. They come together at the exit of 4. Oh, this is a bad spot to catch those 3 leaders, but they lift out of it. Wow, they all lift out of it and drop in behind Jones and company. How in the world? I am really surprised they all lifted right there.
Oh, he's still getting out of shape. He's going to be able to save it, but Dawson, I think I might know why they did that. Think about it this way. If the way they were lined up, the NBG boys that is, if they made a 3-wide move with just Malik and Garrett, it would be pretty easy for them to get around Garrett because there's not much pull in front of them. Now at this point, Garrett has a lot better option to try to go 3-wide, or even if they take him 3-wide and that third lane's only 2 cars, that's a big pull in the middle with where Garrett runs still for them to try to get clear. Point is, however it's shaping up, it's going to get exciting. As here we go, Matthew Baker's going to jump to the outside. Is Garrett going to look for the block?
Baker's laying his cards on the table. Maines does as well. Malik Ray throws the block. Maines back to the outside. They're going to split him. Matthew Baker door to door. This could be the race for the championship. They're 3 wide for the title further back. Malik Ray dives in front of Matthew Baker. Where does Garrett Maines go? He's boxed in. Matthew Baker, is that the move that wins him a championship? They're 3 wide amongst our championship 3.
Oh my goodness, Daniel Eberhard looking for a win, but man, looking for who's going to be the champion. I am holding my breath right now because this pack continues to get tighter and tighter. Triscaro and Garrett are in no man's land right now, stuck in the middle of the pack, in the middle and the inside, as they remain 3 by 3. Navarro giving a push to Eberhard, not enough for him to get clear. Nightmare eSports 1, 2, 3 on the bottom, looking to play upset, but up top, Matthew Baker trying to see if he can end a perfect season with a perfect ending, as he runs second on the outside but leads the championship group. And I'll tell you what, Garrett and Michael Triscaro, what do they do here, Dawson? They got to get desperate. There's nowhere to go. They're trapped.
Yeah, but are they really that trapped? Michael Triscaro all of a sudden has taken back the championship lead with 2 laps to go. As they scramble, now he's all of a sudden the lead pusher. How did this work out for the 34? I have no idea, but now he's the lead pusher on Cody Nagels with a lap and a half to go.
They got to figure this one out soon because they are coming up on a couple more lappers. That's going to put them 4 wide. I'm telling you, this is some of the best racing we have seen all season. Yeah, the lappers should probably bail, and they are. At least 2 of them are, and I think the McCulloughs will as well. So 3 wide into 3, man. Oh, Ethan Eckert. Some contact there, but the 12 is going to keep it together. That'll kill the momentum on the inside. Still 3 by 3. Nagel slides up to the middle, coming to 1 lap to go.
Oh, this is heartbreak central potentially for Garrett Maines, who now is forced to push Michael Triscaro as the field hits the white flag. Triscaro, he's almost home free. He's got a lap to go. 2.66 miles for glory for the 34. The one's got to get desperate. Does he find a hole here in the middle? He might get it. No, Navarro fills the gap. It's Nagels and Hill, the teammates that lead off turn 2 and down the super stretch.
Michael Triscaro is saying, Cody, just stay right there. I'll push you all the way home. Right now I am in the position I want to be. Garrett's going to go to the middle.
Garrett!
Oh, boy, here we go on the outside. Big run. Alex Hill getting pushed by Andrew Navarro. He's going to try to hold on into turn 3 for the final time. A lot of bumping and banging. Dead heat. Oh, Triscaro gets into the pack, trying to save it. He's going to go around. Michael Triscaro back into the pack. They're all wrecking out back. Baker's in it.
Oh, no,
the whole
Garrett
group.
gets wrecked up in the front.
Garrett
Maines
gets
is
screwed.
around.
He's trying to save it. It looks
He's
like he
going up the
does.
road.
Oh,
Garrett
my
went down pit
goodness.
road.
Coming to the checkered flag. Cody Nagels wins at Talladega, but who is going to win the championship?
Wait just a minute. I think Garrett might have hit the pit commit line right there.
He may have. We're going to have to find out. It's close. Right now, scoring is showing Garrett Maines in 5th, Matthew Baker in 6th, Michael Triscaro finishing back in 11th. And it just feels like it all happened again, man. Well, first of all, congrats and what a hats-off win for Cody Nagels in Nightmare Esports. I mean, they were dominant there for quite a bit of the night, especially coming to the end. And boy, we have got quite a bit to figure out at what went wrong right there at the end, as it all went sideways for Michael Triscaro all at once. And when he came back up, it cleaned him out. Let's go back and take a look at it here. White flag. And in fact, we're going to go a little bit further up here and then back it up. As you talked about Garrett Maines there. We'll have to go back and get more on that in just a moment, but here we go. Coming through 3 and 4. Let's go to the TV3 cam first here. I mean, I can't believe these guys held on to it for this long. I'll say that much. And then it just, I don't know. I mean, it's just the 34. He's not getting pushed from out back, and at least from that view, we can go to the chopper view here. From that view and from the chopper view, he's not getting hit from the side anywhere. I think he just washes up a little. Well, the car is maybe wobbling around a little bit, and then certainly something gets him tight and gets him up the racetrack there. I'm trying to figure out if it was any contact or not, Dawson, but I mean, from what I can see at least, we even go to the zoomed-in cam here, it doesn't look like there's any contact that sends the 34 up the racetrack. He just somehow gets aero tight on the back bumper of Cody Nagels, and when he does, it sucks him up into Matt Lee, gets down the track, and I think normally this is a very makeable save, but on tires that are, nearly 100 laps old, at least the rights, that's just too tough of a save to ask this late in the race. And once he does overcorrects back up the racetrack, Baker almost clears it, but just not quite able to. And that leads to the huge wreck out back. We had one get upside down. I think that was Malik Ray. And then how did Garrett Maines get turned in all of this? Saw the wrecking out back here, but then Garrett up the track. They're all just trying to save it. Garrett makes a little bit of contact, tries to move down. Yeah, that's just part of the chaos that ensues after. And boy, Garrett's lucky that he didn't get sucked up into the wall. And then right here, he is doing everything to try to miss it. No, I think he missed the commitment cone, Dawson. I think he just missed it. I think it's that second yellow line. And I think he was able to get out just before he hit it. And if he did, that would explain why he didn't get a penalty. And so in that case, I know it may not be official yet, but I believe that would make the one of Garrett Maines your race winner, or excuse me, your championship winner.
Yeah, he hit the first cone. I was so blinded. It was all happening so fast. I didn't know which cone he would have hit. It was the first one. And I mean, I want to go back and look at his onboard here in a second. I'm watching what happened in the wreck first, so I'll get to Garrett back here in a second. And if you go to, the chase camera on Michael Triscaro, there's netcode contact between he and Matt Lee. The heat of the last lap racing, it gets Triscaro out of shape, and as he tries to correct it, obviously you're just being desperate at that point. He gets out of shape, and it turns him up in the outside wall. So a tough break there. Some very unfortunate netcode contact between the 34 and the 04. For Garrett, I'm going to go watch it for myself because I want to see it. But if you ever think about, if you ever hear somebody say, keep your foot in it when you're getting wrecked, I think that's what Garrett does right here. I mean, that is unbelievable. He literally just kept his foot all the way in the gas, all the way home, and just tried to drive it all the way back. And, man, incredible for Garrett Maines, who somehow kept that car straight.
Yeah, kept his foot in it, and I mean, even there, hey, they may say there's no art to reckon, but when Lee started coming back up there, once he was already wrecking, you saw Garrett actually yank the wheel left. He knows that if he goes straight there, Lee probably collects him up into the wall, but by Garrett doing that, he kind of spins the 04 out into the wall without himself getting collected as well. So, I mean, that was a great job avoiding the wreck and getting through it, but, I mean, for NBG, a 3-on-1 coming down to the end, and, boy, it just did not quite work out. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, maybe if they had a chance to redo it, they changed something, but it looked like they were doing everything right at the end, and things just didn't quite work out. And if we go back to this finish again for, Cody Nagels, I think any other race would be screaming a lot more about the winner of this race at the end, but there was just so much going on out back. Christopher McCullough not for position, but trying to push Cody home, and so that leads to a 1-2 finish here for Nightmare Esports as Cody Nagels crossed the stripe and gets himself a win. So let's take a look at your results here tonight before we go try to get your top 3 in here for interviews. And then we'll talk about what your championship 4 and then second pool standings look like as well. Cody Nagels is your race winner. Alex Hill brings home a second. Dylan Jones in third, with Andrew Navarro back in fourth. Garrett Maines fifth. Matthew Baker sixth. Landon Velicky in seventh. Malik Ray eighth. Dylan Basin in ninth. And Matt Lee rounding out your top 10.
Kenny Reel finishes 11th tonight. Michael Triscaro, man, it's a heartbreaker of epic proportions tonight for Michael Triscaro. He'll finish 12th. Daniel Eberhardt in 13th. Ethan Eckert in 14th. Trevor Osronoff will finish tonight 15th. Mike Davenport 16th. Brock Westmoreland in 17th. Jason Maines 18th. Chris Walker 19th. And Jared Haynes rounds out the top 20.
Christopher McCullough finishes in 21st. Connor Cunningham 22nd. Mark Fondell 23rd. Ken McCullough Jr. back in 24th. Sean Corbett 25th. Jeff Merck in 26th with Jimmy Emos in 27th. J.R. Miller rounds out the field tonight as he finishes in 28th. All right, before we get your top 3, your championship 4 standings, this is how it looks like. And again, we won't call it fully official yet. I know race control can change it at their discretion, of course, if there were to be an issue. But from what we understand, Garrett Maines is your Season 4 champion after making it through the last lap chaos and the wreckfest that ensued. He will take home the big money here tonight. Second in the championship is Matthew Baker. Finishing third is going to be Michael Triscaro, and then Jeff Merck finishes fourth in that battle. Brock Westmoreland for the secondary pool takes the win. Jason Maines finishes second in that secondary pool, and then Andrew Navarro takes first in that secondary pool. Brock Westmoreland finishes second. Jason Maines finishes third, and then Logan York finishes fourth in that secondary pool. All right, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. Be right back at Talladega. All right, back live at Talladega Superspeedway. Going to start first here tonight with your third place finisher, Dylan Jones. Dylan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I sure do.
Well, you bring home a podium finish in the final race of the season. And, I mean, man, I don't know if it was the way you were expecting it to go or not, because coming out of that last pit stop, I should say, looked like you, Daniel Eberhardt, Andrew Navarro, and Dylan Basson, you guys had it locked up. Good strategy play overall. How'd you expect that race to end versus the way it did end?
I expected us to pull away. I mean, we were in 100 laps in every pit cycle there. We had to run extra laps on everyone. So there's strategy from lap 1. And honestly, if we didn't lose Basin on pit road, we probably catch that lap pack that was just out in front of us, and nobody catches us, and we just drive away. But I think Basin got speeding, and 3 cars just was slightly not enough, and we had to race it out.
We certainly did race it out, and you still found a way to make it onto the podium. Now, you may not have been fighting for a championship here tonight, but it was extra money on the line as well. So, how does it feel to kind of end the season with a good podium finish and bring home some good money?
Yeah, I wish I was in the championship now, but money's money, so I'm going to take it. Congrats. I think Garrett took the championship, so good on him, and it was a great last season race for everyone, I guess.
Certainly was, and a great finish for you indeed. Well, before we let you head out for the final time this season, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
I'll just give a big thanks to Ron for putting up with everyone and putting this shit on.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on third, and hopefully we'll see you out here next season.
Yes, sir.
All right, and now that will bring us to tonight's second place finisher, making his first start of the season, Alex Hill. Dawson stands by with him.
Yeah, hey, Alex, it's the boys in the booth. You get a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, look, you've done this before where you kind of go on a break, you come back, and you're just back to the Alex Hill that we're used to seeing, and it's no different tonight. And, you guys really as a team had it on lock for most of the night. You get rewarded with a 1-2 finish with your teammate Cody there. Man, take us through the night, getting back in the car and kind of going through this race.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough start at first. I kept locking up my tires trying to get down to pit road, but I figured it out, changed my brake bias, and I locked in. And we worked really well as a team tonight. I'm proud of all of us, and we got it done.
Well, you certainly did. And look, I kind of talked about it earlier. You guys were not, championship contenders tonight, not drivers racing for something bigger. You guys were out here racing for race payouts. But I also kind of mentioned this was kind of a practice run for the SummerSlam 499 coming up in a couple weeks. What can we expect out of the Nightmare Boys come July 27th and July 28th for the big event?
You can expect the exact same thing. I mean, if we don't win, it's a loss. It sucks. It's terrible. So we're just looking to really get a 1-2-3 for the SummerSlam as well. But we almost had a 1-2-3 until off of 4, and a few of us wrecked, but we were able to bring it home for the 1-2 finish.
Well, certainly a fun race to watch, and good to see you guys doing well, and obviously good to see you back in the car, just short of that crown jewel event. We're looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you guys back on track for that. Before we let you go, though, second place finish tonight, a nice payday for you in your return here to Tuesday Night Thunder. So before we let you go and celebrate with your team, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks for the greatest team ever in racing, Superspeedway Racing, Nightmare eSports. Thank both of you for broadcasting this. Thank you to Ron. And a big thanks to all the competitors for letting us beat them every week.
Well, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations on the 1-2 finish and a really, really strong run, a statement run tonight for you guys at Nightmare eSports. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, and now that'll lead us to tonight's race winner. Another one of the Nightmare eSports teammates. It's Cody Nagels. Dawson Wise stands by with him as well.
Yeah, hey, Cody, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, what a race, first of all. I mean, it was, 100 laps green is certainly a feat here, something we've almost never seen. And, we kind of want, a perspective on that. We're not used to seeing races this long go into long green flag runs. How did you guys attack it as a team? We saw you guys be so dominant all night. What was the approach tonight for Nightmare eSports?
Honestly, it had to do with the caliber of drivers that's in this field. We actually talked about it going green potentially from the start. Like, Matt was the first to mention it, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, field's pretty strong, so we can do one of two things. We can ride in the back and go the 3-4 strat at the end like Dylan and Navarro and Eberhardt were doing, or we can kind of rotate the lead a little bit and pit, a few laps sooner than them and take like 5-1, which is what we ended up doing. We didn't want to lead the whole time, but at the end of the day, we led pretty much the whole race, so it was to perfection, and the only thing that we messed up on really as a team was not getting Matt a top 5 finish, because all three of us deserved to cash after that effort.
Well, really, a truly dominant effort out of you guys tonight. Certainly good to see you guys back in full form. And it's just in time, too. The SummerSlam 499 is coming up. But, you're getting pretty good at winning these big races. We saw you lead laps in February in the Podium 500. We saw you lead laps and obviously win the ERA Omega Cup Spring Bowl back in March. And you also ran, strong in the ERA's event at Iowa. You're getting used to running well in these big races. We've seen you do it how many times here on the Super Speedways as well. Weekly, a multi-time PGR winner, 3-4 straight at one point. Kind of reflect on, the last year and a half for you as you've had all these big achievements come. Just take a moment, reflect on it, and also reflect on coming up on the SummerSlam 499.
Well, this is called the Night of Champions. It's a big race, and a lot of champions and a lot of big name drivers came out, and I just wanted to remind them exactly who we are as a team and who I am as a driver, and I think we did that. But honestly, I can't sit here and talk about the individual accomplishments without singing the praises of the guys that I've ran with in the last year. I mean, it didn't end the best with Dale Cup, but I have to give them their due. I have to give NBG their due. Merck, Baker, Lee, I mean, there's even guys that I've had alliances with, Triscaro and the PGR crew has helped me, and I've helped them from time to time. But Lee and Alex have been my main running mates for a while, and the success that I have isn't possible without them setting the table for me and me setting the table for them. And that's why we're able to cash as consistently as we do, excuse me, is we can get fully committed to a strategy with each other. And everyone's got their opinion, but I truly feel when you get us clicking on this, all on the same page like we did tonight, I mean, we are a handful on the track, and it showed. I mean, it was like once we got the lead, we just weren't going to give it up.
It was a clinic at times for you guys tonight, and it pays off for you. A 1-2 finish could have very well been a 1-2-3, a 1-2-4 kind of finish for you guys. And what better timing than 2.5 weeks short of PGR's first ever crown jewel, the SummerSlam 499. So we're looking forward to that. And, a huge run for you guys tonight. So before we let you go and celebrate it and enjoy another massive accomplishment, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to thank you for broadcasting. You and Austin do a fantastic job. Ron for putting on the events. Mike T for PGR eSports. I mean, all the money communities or the money promotions coming together for this is freaking awesome like they do. I'm still unsure if I'm going to be at the SummerSlam 499, but if I'm not, I'll hop in the booth. I have a tournament that day that I'm planning on signing up for with my dad, and family comes first with me, and I will be back regardless, and there'll be plenty of big events to run in the future if I'm not able to run the SummerSlam. But who knows, maybe I'll run one of the free entry events and maybe win one and be able to give an entry away to somebody. But got to thank Alex, got to thank Lee, everyone at Nightmare Esports that excuse me. God, still sick. Everyone at Nightmare Esports that runs with me throughout the week in leagues and stuff, just everyone. I want to thank my parents for watching. I want to thank the good Lord for, giving me the ability to do this day in and day out. And lastly, the people, the troops that defend our country, day in and day out. That, we can sleep safe at night and be able to do this and enjoy what we do day in and day out. Without the troops, we wouldn't be here being able to enjoy what we love here. So God bless our troops.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Cody. Congratulations on another big win and a huge night for Nightmare Esports. Go enjoy it, go celebrate with your teammates, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, and now that will lead us to your Season 4 champion, Garrett Maines. Garrett, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, you are the Season 4 champion, so congrats on it, man. Tell you what a chaotic finish to the race. They start wrecking behind. Next thing you know, you're almost caught up in a wreck that happens just in front of you, and somehow you kept your foot in it. You made it all the way through. Before we get to the rest of the season and how you got to this point, break us down what was going through your mind that last lap and how you were able to maneuver through that final wreck.
Well, let me add some context. On that, I guess it was 51, whatever pit stop was like the halfway pit stop where Trevor was in front of me. I had called out that I was going to go low. And so when he did the early peel off, I thought he was going low, which I was like, bro, I just called that. But then he positioned himself in the middle, which I didn't realize that he did that. And so I basically just ran him over because I was trying to get down, but I was still on his outside, and I did a horrible job like getting in behind him because somehow I got to his outside, and I realized that, but I just didn't get back in behind him to get down to the low side. So I ended up getting nose damage. I ended up pretty much ending his race. And there at the end, where that played a factor was I was not able to suck up like I needed to. I just didn't say anything. I was having a very hard time keeping my temps cool because I needed to stay closer than I wanted to stay to be able to actually, stay close to the car in front of me throughout the run. And so on that last lap, I kind of just accepted, hey, we're probably not winning this championship, but let's go see if we can get something out of this. And Triscaro was the obvious candidate on the bottom that I was like, hey, if we can get, I think it was Cody clear in front of him, Triscaro's got a shot to win the race. I have a shot at the top 5, and we'll just accept it. And then down that back stretch, I watched the middle open. I was looking for it. And I knew that nobody that I was racing was in that middle lane. So I knew if I could get up there, I was going to be sitting pretty. And it opened up. The only problem was as I was boiling hot when I got to turn 3, and they're on middle of 3 and 4 when they started wrecking on the bottom. I had no choice but to go up the track, which was great. I was able to get a little bit of clean air. But then Baker, thinking I'm trying to make a move, follows me up there. Now I'm panicking because I'm like blowing up hot. Like I have forced it for all of 3 and 4, way past where I'm comfortable leaving the water temperature. Like, that's a ticking time bomb. And I was just panicking to get clean air. And when I moved back down the track, I guess I closed up the gap because I was on the gas and brake trying to, like, you know, bring myself back a little bit because Cody was a sitting duck on the bottom. The top had stalled. Literally, it was going to be me and Lee coming to the line. All I had to do was push him. And I failed to do that. I put myself in an awkward situation. And when he came back down to basically get back in front of me, I was just probably a foot too far, maybe even 6 inches too far along, like, offset with him. And so I basically, like, got him turned. It's one of those situations where, like, there was no win there. If we hadn't been moving around so much, there probably wouldn't have been a wreck. But I had to move because I was hot, and he had to move if he wanted a shot to win. So it just sucks. I feel bad that I, you know, ruined Lee's race coming there at the end. Like, he was in prime position, but his teammates still ended up 1-2. So I don't know what their deal is, but happy to see they still got it done. They did a great job tonight, and I will happily take 5th place. I definitely, you know, kind of backed into that there at the end. I thought I was wrecked coming to the line, but that's a long-winded explanation for that white flag for you.
Well, 5th place in the race, but a champion in the series. And, I mean, looking back on the season, coming into tonight, 1 win, but a whole bunch of stage wins, and those that consistency is really what helped got you to the playoffs and then got you to this point. And, you know, it's not just this season, whatever money racing series it is, Tuesday Night Thunder, PGR, we always see you come out here and perform. And for one of the guys who maybe usually doesn't quite have as many teammates as everyone else, how is it that week in and week out you always find a way to get the job done?
I will say, it seems to work out really well for me running solo if I want to win the stage. I made the joke. I was like, you know, there was no stage tonight for me to win, so, you know, it doesn't seem like we are the one that gets wrecked at the end. But it's finally worked out. I will say it's not a win tonight, but, you know, we got the championship. You know, I know Baker. Honestly, he deserved it tonight. Like, he ran a perfect season. I don't think anybody in this community has won so many in a row. So props to him. I think he got 7. Like, he had 7 wins. I had 8 stages, and every single time I won the stage, it was basically like something went wrong at the end for me. But he had finished the job every time, and, you know, shout out to him. Big thank you to him also. He's been spotting me in the Coke Series this year. But just excited to actually have brought it home. I scheduled my flights to get home so I could run this race tonight. So it all worked out.
All worked out, taking home a big paycheck and named a Tuesday Night Thunder Season 4 champion. Well, before we let you head out for the final time this season, is there anybody you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to give a huge shout out to Scott at MCU Body, Lennox, the guys over at Ryko Performance for all the hard work they've been doing. I'm excited to try out our Indy and Pocono cars. I think we're going to have a good shot coming up in the last 2 Coke races of the regular season. Also, big thank you to Left Court Brothers and FGR XL for their support.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Well, again, congrats on the championship here tonight, and hopefully we'll see you in the SummerSlam in a couple weeks.
Heck yeah.
All right, well, there you go. That's just about going to wrap up coverage here tonight, but before we do head out, a couple takeaways. I mean, boy, what a race it was here tonight, Dawson. I mean, 100 laps. You said it while we were on break, and I got to agree. I hope that we see this kind of racing at the end of the season, or excuse me, not at the end of the season, in a couple weeks at the SummerSlam, the kind of racing that we saw here tonight and just in general towards the end of this season. I mean, it was phenomenal, and can't wait to see what we're going to get. But as for tonight, another heartbreaking moment for Michael Triscaro, and for everybody else, what a great way to end the season out if you're Garrett Maines.
Yeah, I'll try not to get too long-winded, but man, what a season, first of all. This series kind of, you know, morphed itself into a lot of guys' favorite, from what I could tell from you know, getting to hear from the drivers, getting to see, you know, their reactions, you know, on Tuesday nights. It felt like it was their favorite race of the week. It felt like the race with some of the highest stakes of the week, and it always felt like every race meant something big, and these guys were racing like it. And what a heck of a season. Hats off to every single driver that got on track this season in Tuesday Night Thunder, because it was incredible. I looked forward to it every single week. It was awesome to get to watch these guys go to battle for this many weeks in a row. It's a unique thing that we have in a money racing world where we kind of go 1 week at a time. This was such a unique format to have a league style where you can kind of see that payoff over a season. And man, props to everybody. Props to the championship four. I know it didn't end the way that three of them wanted it to tonight, but for Garrett Maines, it's a championship he's kind of been looking for. You kind of heard him say it. Something always went wrong. Tonight it went right for him. And man, I hope we get this racing at the SummerSlam, because I'm telling you, this combo is great. It's dynamite. And with the field like this, with the stakes like they were tonight, amp them times 10. That's what you'll get in the Slam. I can't wait. I seriously am looking forward to that whole weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of fun things planned. So I can't wait for that. And I can't wait for the level of competition we're going to see in that race. If you liked what you saw on track tonight, come back and watch the SummerSlam 49, because that's going to be a barn burner.
Certainly is. We're going to have one hell of a broadcast crew put together for it. I'm talking a couple guys that we have not seen in a while making a return. Not going to announce those names till it is official, but stay tuned for that. Before we do head out there, it looks like Matthew Baker asking if we could pull him up here for a moment. So let's see what he's got to say. Baker, this is also up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, brother.
Well, we saw that you wanted us to pull you up for a couple minutes. I mean, what a great season it was. Not the way you wanted it to end, but what did you have to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out the championship four up there. Mark got a little unlucky in the beginning, but just wanted to congratulate everyone on a good season. Thanks to you guys for putting on a good broadcast on behalf of PGR eSports. Glad we could keep it clean and green all the way to the end, to the white flag. You know the chaos is going to ensue, but just gutted. I had a shot, and I felt like when I went to the third lane, we were going to have a shot there, but we just lost all help behind Valecki and tried to salvage. We thought Garrett was going to get put in the wall, but I'll take P2 in the championship. Kind of sucks. 7 wins and not a championship to show for it. Kind of blows, but it was really good. But yeah, that's all I have. I just want to thank MBG Motorsports, Baker & Son Construction, Coasting Thunder. I want to shout out my uncle. He's in the hospital, not doing too well. Just keeping him in my thought and some prayers, and the whole family. I know they're hurting right now, and we need a miracle, so we're praying for him, and we love him. And thanks to you guys again, and Ron for always putting on a great season.
Well, we appreciate you talking to us, Baker. And again, we certainly know it from up here. We got to see all of them. Every win. It was a dominant season, and sorry it didn't work out for you, man. But, hey, hopefully we'll see you. We know not on track, but we'll get to hear more from you here in the coming weeks for the SummerSlam.
Yeah, and I'll be on the track on Thursday night, try and get my first PGR in Atlanta. Should be a good one.
There you go. All right. Well, that should officially wrap up coverage here tonight. So for the last time this season, thank you all so much for tuning in. That's it for me, Austin Green and Dawson Wise here on PGR eSports.